Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Daverhood, the rather stark, I guess in a wintry post-solstice sort of way. Yeah. The Daverhood, for a little program, a podcast and a radio program that we like to call Dave's Gone By.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. There goes the Daverhood.
And there was much rejoicing.
Didn't your meds kick in yet?
We got David Lefker that's here. He's a Long Island Hearts guy. He's got his own radio show.
I want you all to really enjoy a wonderful program done by a fine artist.
A glorious thing of unparalleled beauty.
Dave's Gone By. Dave is one of my very favorite broadcasters, so keep on listening to Mr. Dave.
Like two flamingos in a fruit fight. Every color of day. Whirling around at night.
Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome live on this Saturday morning, December 22nd, 2018, for the Dave's Gone By Facebookio program podcast. I got to put podcast in there somewhere too.
Yes, do.
The Dave's Gone By Facebookio podcastio programmio of the stream.
Yes.
Here from Greeley, Colorado, in my rather benighted, austere, denuded,
minimalist,
snow-covered office. Yes. On this
that's snow falling.
Day after, it was winter yesterday, I think it started, was the solstice.
Yesterday was the solstice.
I didn't stand any egg on its tushy.
Next time.
I want to do that. But you knew me at the point 20-something years ago when I was still living at home with mom and dad, right? And we would do this half a year. We would take eggs out of the fridge and stand them up. What? I would like to say that I was that young, but no, I was in my 20s when I was doing this. And it would be very exciting, right around the 20th, either of March or December.
Yeah.
We'd get eggs out of the fridge, and they would say that you could stand up an egg during the solstice when most of them would just fall over.
Shouldn't it be an egg?
I like saying a egg.
Why?
Or egg, because it's from the first time dozens of years ago when I saw Torch Song Trilogy on Broadway with Harvey Fierstein. And one of my favorite moments is he's grieving the death of his. Can you stop pushing down on camera? Look prettier, yeah. But one of the things, you know how you remember the most ridiculous little things? And he's still grieving, and he's fighting with his mother, and his mother doesn't understand his lifestyle and but finally sort of coming out of it, and he's like, you should eat something. Maybe it's his boyfriend who's actually asking, or the son he's raising. And he said, come on, Arnold, you have to eat something. He's like, wow, maybe I'll have an egg. And I just love the way he said egg.
Egg.
Yeah, the moment, and I saw the Torch Song revival on Broadway. Oh, it was off Broadway.
Did we do the same?
Last year. Well, it was a different actor, Michael Urie. They didn't really, it didn't have it.
It didn't do it.
And it didn't have the Harvey egg, which Harvey.
Loved it.
Oh, Harvey. Anywho, how did I get eggs? So I was standing eggs upside down because they won't stand up, so they say. And then that turned out to be sort of a lie, because what would happen was I stood the eggs all over the house, in like the living room, any surface that could hold an egg. I stood an egg up on around the solstice.
Yeah.
And some of them stayed that way for weeks. Like you figure they fall over about 24 hours after the solstice because something would shift in the equinox or the egg equinox. No, they stayed for months, literally on end, because the eggs were on end. Now, I don't know if maybe in the equinox is the only time you can do it like fat sign up because they're not quite perfectly oval. They've got a wider side than a narrower side.
Yeah, but I'm concerned that if you play your game, you're going to ruin it for our friend.
Well, we don't have to. We can save it.
I think we should play it, but
okay.
But swear him to secrecy.
All right. Well, Fred, who may be the only one watching.
No, there's two, but we don't see.
Yeah, somebody else is watching on video. So welcome to all the folks that I cannot see who have joined us for the 678th episode.
You cannot see them. Why?
Well, in other words, usually I get a whole crawl of people.
Yeah. Look,
on
now
Facebook.
There's 3, but you.
Yeah, there's 3 people watching, but it's not telling us who or where. And I need.
Can they watch an incognito?
Maybe. Well, it's just weird the way Facebook works. Because normally I get your social security numbers.
Yeah.
I get your blood type. I get the last 4 digits of your bank account. And it's not giving it to me today. I don't know why.
Weird, yeah.
But this is the 678th episode of this show. Here we are. We're calling it Timely Travels. Before we get to our game, Timely Travels. Because our guest in the Daverhood is a traveler.
Ooh, a gypsy? Romani?
No,
Romani?
Yehudi.
Oh,
Jewish
Yehudi.
fellow.
Oh.
Jewish
Yeah,
fellow.
There were Romani who were part Jewish.
Absolutely. But no, this guy he's more New Jersey.
You missed yesterday. Tony and I watched Scientology, and there's a part of Scientology where they bring in people who are Black Muslims, and they had Farrakhan who was talking. Yeah, it's very strange. I don't know.
What?
Yes, I don't get it.
And by the way, she's talking. You weren't watching like a Scientology presentation. You were watching the Leah Remini show where she's debunking Scientology.
It was weird. I don't get it.
So now they're making alliances with Farrakhan and the Muslims.
Nation of Islam.
Okay. Well, I told you when we were in Boston.
Yeah.
The place where we were staying, we were playing in the African American part of town near Roxbury. What was it called?
Dorchester.
Dorchester, right?
Dorchester.
Yeah. And I'm walking, and I'm just going for lunch on one rainy, miserable Boston afternoon, and I'm just passing by. This like churchy building, and there's a marquee for a live broadcast where they're asking people to come and watch TV of fucking Farrakhan talking. And I realize it's like a black Muslim, what do you call the church?
Mosque,
yeah.
Go back, I got you off track.
I almost wanted to kick through the screen. No, because they were showing on either Fox or one of the others of he's still constantly making these unbelievable anti-Semitic statements. I mean, they're true, but still.
Go back.
Anywho,
So who's the guest?
Speaking of Jews, we have a Jew. And he looks like this. This is if you want to see a picture of a Jew, here's one. His name is Joseph Rotenberg, and he is an author. He is the author of this book called Timeless Travels. Ooh, where what Joe does, or he has been back and forth to Israel more than 30 times in his life.
Whoa.
He's also traveled to dozens of other places. And he started writing about them and writing for this local newspaper and stuff, and finally compiled all these essays and stories into this book called Timeless Travels, where they're little vignettes. They're little like things that you wouldn't necessarily think of, like he was in the Arabian desert thing. And you're trying to live, you're trying to eat, you're trying to sleep. Everything gets covered with sand. You can put your sandwich in 5 plastic bags. Oh, you can open up that sandwich and you're going to be eating a sand-covered sandwich. It's the weirdest thing because it's ubiquitous, just sand. And he has other stories to tell, and stories about what was he trying to learn to drive a little motorcycle through the hills and valleys of Israel. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, it's a cool book. It's called Timeless Travels, and he's going to be talking to Rabbi Saul Solomon, the one, the only, the Jewish, later in the program, and tell us about the book.
We don't have a clapping one.
Oh, no. Wait. Oh, the red one's probably still in the bag there. Man, these things new batteries. Yeah.
Let's see.
Let me see if I can find the clappy red one.
Let's do this one.
Yeah, do it up. Oh. Keep it going. I need.
No, David, come back. You only got friendly.
Oh, that's true. All right, this should be the clappy. There we go. So that's one of the major pieces of the puzzle that is this episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebook program of the stream and podcast.
Yeah, I cast you.
Podbookio.
Yeah, Podcastio.
Podcastio, Facebookio program. We've also got our Inside Broadway segment of songs in the news. So a lot of stuff. It's been a rather busy week in current events, ladies and gentlemen. So what we do is I play a snatch or two of songs, and you have to figure out, hey, why is Dave playing that particular song?
What does it relate to?
The title, the singer, the band, the theme of the song. It's called our Saturday Segue of Songs in the News. Also, we'll have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned for we finally got out of the C's and we're into the D's.
Whoa.
Dacono. So I'm going to do
you're really venturing out.
Horrible, evil limerick about Dacono, Colorado, on our Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
Dacono is one of the tri-towns with Fredericksburg.
Oh.
Something in Dacono.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's a tri-town.
Cool. I didn't Dacono that. I didn't know that.
Now you could do Nudo too.
Yeah, well, like to see you can Nudo. Hello. Boing. Anywho, what else are we doing? We're going to, of course. We have our story, part 2.
It was a very good story.
Of the greatest story ever told. No, not the Christmas story. Something even better. Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato.
Wow.
A Irish folktale.
That's classy. That's a classy story.
It's a beautiful thing.
It looks like you made a big foof behind him. Look.
I know, it's like a cloud.
Yes.
Replete with marvelous Irish stereotypes, by the way.
God.
Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato as part of our StoryTime segment.
But it's an Irish folktale, so.
Yeah, I'm sure it's based on a real old fashioned. Don't read, because I've only gotten halfway through it. I don't know what happens. But it involves a leprechaun who grants him a wish of having the biggest spud, because what man doesn't want it bigger? Was the biggest spud ever, so he doesn't have to work. His wife got sick, and he doesn't want to do any planting because he's lazy. So we're going to do part 2, the thrilling and enthralling climax, as it were, of Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato on Dave's Gone By today. And also we're going to go inside Broadway for news of the theater, tell you about what's happening on Broadway. A couple of people died this week. Well, half the time inside Broadway is about dead people, but can't really get away from that. In fact, maybe still the greatest rock musical of all time.
Xanadu?
Xanadu was cute.
Oh.
That was more like a jukebox rock musical.
Oh.
But a real game changer, ultimately. And still one of the great rock scores in all of Broadway history and off-Broadway history. One of the people who wrote that show died this past week. So we'll pay tribute, and we'll do some other stuff on Inside Broadway. And what else? We have the My Sick Mind segment, where we will pay a very disturbed, disturbed tribute to Penny Marshall. And what else? Oh, isn't that enough? I don't know if I'll have time even for Dave's Big Dictionary. We can see how it goes. Let's play our game.
I think we should play the game first.
Yeah, but for the other thing, speaking of Jews, I didn't want to do this because Joyce is a very proud Ivy Leaguer. She is an alum.
David, listen, when you're picking at straws, you don't have much, right? When you're picking at
well, your PhD was from Fordham, which is not which is a Jesuit, but it's not Ivy League. And your undergrad was Hunter, right? But in the middle, you went to a little university called Columbia, which is pretty hot shit for reals. So Columbia puts out this beautiful magazine by all the universities.
Yeah, alumni magazine.
I wonder how much money UNC would save if we stopped putting out things like this.
I don't know.
But anywho, so check this out. This really nice holiday theme.
The hats here. See, this is the. Oh, wait. Okay.
Wait, the Columbia hat is the blue one right there. So it's weird. It's a mirror image on the Facebook. You've got to kind of get used to that. And then, of course, the guy who's got the umbrella, he's running. He probably lost his hat while he was running. He's jumping over this puddle of ice. The svelte, sophisticated mom in the
Puritan outfit.
Winter coat.
She's in the Puritan outfit.
She's in the Miles Standish winter coat.
What are the other two? I can't see the other on the
Here,
other side.
we can.
Look, they have a dachshund.
Oh, cool.
And they have two, like a kid with the backpack, a kid with a hat, and then like hipsters.
And it's trying to be a very egalitarian. Instead of just saying, like, I'm sure as Columbia would have done 50 years ago, oh, Christmas, creche, Jesus, that kind of holiday thing. Here they're trying to be like, well, winter scene and people dressed for holiday time. But
someone has earmuffs.
Yeah, all different types of people. But then notice this fella. This is still, it's like we never get away from this. They find room, and I think this is great, for a Jewish guy. Is the Jewish guy sort of a young Orthodox pious person?
That's interesting. Yeah, he's the oldest one in the picture.
Yeah. No,
they want to also show intergenerational. So they have the mom and the kid, they have the older man. I like that they're intergen.
I know, but notice that the intergenerational Jewish man with the yarmulke.
But he's probably going to the seminary because Columbia is near yeshiva.
Oh, that could be.
So I have a feeling like if it's in Washington Heights, then he might be going to yeshiva.
Yeah. And we are people of the book, and that's really cool. He's going to be reading and studying. That's a Jewish trait.
Oh, what's he
but did I have to give him scoliosis?
David, I thought he was holding his MRI. I think he's holding his MRI. Go, let me see. Let me see. That looks like his medical record. Yeah.
Even better.
He's
because he's working on his back problem. There you go. You can see the curvature.
Maybe he's headed to Columbia Hospital.
He has his fused vertebra right there. So he's gonna get, and then that was during the test results. And the thing is, he thinks he has cancer, of course, and 12 other diseases. So, so I think it's lovely that Columbia is inclusive this time of the year. But I mean, did they have to make the Jewish guy kind of old, bookish, and curved? Oh well. Except he probably looks like every other professor at Columbia University at this point.
Well, no, I hope not.
Well, maybe. Anywho.
I'm just looking at Bowers or something.
Absolutely. So we have all that stuff we were talking about that we're going to do on this episode of Dave's Gone By. So thank you so much for joining us. I wish you guys will also write in and send me little messages and thumbs up and hearts. So, because I can see the camera thing flashing, and I know people are logging in and tuning in, but I'm not seeing you, so I can't greet you the way I normally do, except for Fred of Friending. We've got to swear you to secrecy, Fred, because Joyce and I are going to be playing a game that we're going to be bringing to you guys to play on the holidays, because we're all going to do a nice meal together. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun? Actually, Joyce thought, wouldn't it be fun, instead of our usual banter and just yakking back and forth about nothing, and about Jewish people on the cover of the Columbia magazine, to actually do something fun for the holiday, to play a game. Not a holiday-related game, but the game that Joyce got me for Hanukkah. What was that?
I'm just checking it. I want to go somewhere later.
Oh, sure.
I'm just checking a time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm trying to lead into, I don't know how to even lead into this.
I don't think you physically can.
So, they actually did a segment about this kind of thing on God Help Us Laura Ingraham. I was flipping channels and saw her on Fox, and they were making fun of this trend in family games, in children's toys, that has really surfaced only in the last year or two. But to make games that are particularly gross and silly and essentially body fluid oriented. Now, back when I was growing up, they had Operation. Remember that one?
I do.
You open up a patient and you try and hit the liver and the thing and you hit the wrong thing, you get a shock or it goes, you got to stop. So that was as close as games back in the day used to get to really weird, crazy, sick, and gross.
Yeah.
And then we live in a culture, and I guess I count myself lucky in this way, in a culture that is post-South Park, post-Family Guy, post-emoji, where, of course, the most popular emoji is, the poop emoji.
Yeah.
Think about this. Think about what life was like when people my age were born, and what it's like now, where essentially you go into any store and there's smiling pieces of
Did
poo.
you bring your little toys?
I left those for next episode because we don't want to overload. Yeah.
Show them the box, honey.
And so Ingram and I've seen these. We go to the stores, we go to Walmart, we go to Target, and we see now toys that revolve around excrement.
Yeah.
And there's Doggy Doo,
yes,
where it's a dachshund. So I'm thinking we're going to get that one because it's a beautiful little dachshund dog. And then at some point you press down on him,
and he poops.
and he makes little pellets.
Yeah.
There's also the gas out game, which is all about farting green
I think
cloud.
it's like hot potato with gas.
Yeah. Hot potato. And there's another poo. Oh, don't step in it.
Yeah.
There's a don't step in it game.
But that makes sense. We've all been there.
But then Joyce, looking for a present for me for Hanukkah, saw a game that she thought, I think I think Dave would appreciate this. That's what she thinks in her head. She still uses it in the third person. I think Dave would appreciate this. And and it was on sale, which is the most important thing for me, because what they charge for games is, because I am Jewish. I'm like, this much money for a game? But how can you resist this? How can you possibly resist? Here it comes, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, God.
FLUSHIN Frenzy!
He looks so happy.
Let me come down this way so I can put more of him on here.
Oh, God. Push the plunger till the poop pops up.
Yeah, that's what I always do. And you see this remarkable Ghostbusters-like creature, scary in a way, but rather beautiful.
He looks better in the real life.
Well, the real life one is cuter. This one is actually scary.
Yeah.
If I had my ass down on the toilet bowl and this came coming out at me, it'd be like Alien.
You'd be scared.
Yeah, I'd be terrified. But notice this is poop. What does it say? Poop. There it is. Okay. Poop. There it is. Poop. There it is. And joyous children. He's holding up the
2 to 4 people, 5+.
But yeah, well, it's got to be 5 years old plus to play this, because the thing. Well, we'll show you how it works, because it could sort of be dangerous.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We almost got hurt several times.
But the drops of water flying everywhere. This happy little girl.
The back how to play it.
Oh yeah. We're getting to it. But I want people to savor the pictures. There's like these John Crick-Belushi drawings of these big-eyed children going, "Wah!" And
they love it.
Included in your price,
what is that?
Free toilet.
Good.
The toilet comes with the game.
That's great.
There's a warning. The warning is it's a choke.
What does it say?
It's a choking hazard.
Oh my God.
Because it's got some moving parts, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you could choke on the tokens, I think. Not the poop, but the tokens you could choke on.
Yeah. Well, a really big dumb kid could choke on it. He could choke on this. I didn't realize this is Mattel.
Yes, that's
Mattel.
Why I bought it.
Makes
it's
this.
Good quality.
Yeah. Okay, so here he is on the side of the box.
No, don't show them that scary.
Flying up out of the toilet.
Yeah, but he looks scary.
No, we'll do the back of the box then. Here we go. Here he is. Scoop the poop. The toilet stopped up, and you're gonna take. Well, it's hard for me to read off the camera here. But you're gonna take turns trying to unclog it, but be careful. One good pump and pop the poop into the air. Oh, can't pop the poop into the air. Be the first to grab it and score points. The fun begins when the poop starts flying.
Wow.
This is for children. Notice the big warning label on the bottom here. Oh, what's down there? What is all that?
It just says it conforms to safety standards.
Better.
Yeah. All the places where you can buy it, where it's manufactured in the EU.
Really?
Yeah, by Europa BV in Netherlands.
No wonder England wants to Brexit. Yeah.
It says contains toilet tank, toilet seat, plunger, pooper.
Of course, yeah.
And it says pooper in parentheses, die, and 10 tokens. It says warning, do not aim at eyes or face.
Do not aim at eyes or face. Other parts of the body, absolutely fine.
Yeah, you can go for it.
Shall we play the game? This is a brand new thing. We're gonna do this on Dave's Gone By to see how this goes. And by the way, remember it said on the box, and they weren't kidding. Toilet included. There it is.
You want to put it on the book?
There it is. We gotta figure out how to play this game.
Put it on the book.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe move our audio thing. Well, we can put this further back and down.
Yes.
All right, and then we can move this here. Can you get off the?
I'm sorry, am I stepping on? Yeah,
careful.
Sorry,
it's okay, no problem. Let's just move this as far back as we possibly. Oh, okay, it's sort of on camera a little bit, but we can get this because I want to get us on. Maybe if we pull out here.
Can you just turn it like down a little bit?
Like further down,
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, scoot my head back. Okay, so here it is. Here's the toilet, which is included. Oh, it comes with a die.
Okay.
So
what did it say?
So the die has 1, 2, 3. Number 1, 2, or 3.
I think mine said 3.
Oh, well, we're still exploring. That didn't count. That was a trial thing.
Okay.
So you take the roll of dice, and by the way, it also comes with a plunger. So,
cute.
And by the way, I did get thrown off a radio station for making fun of Abner Louima. So there you go. Here it is. A plunger, the toilet, the die, and, well, let's see if we can do this. Because this is the hardest part, is to get, there's a little package of tokens. So, of course, you want to teach your children gambling and how to play with their excrement.
Yes, of
And
course.
it's a fabulously educational game, ladies and gentlemen. So are you ready to play our first round? I'm trying to get, my head is so big
Just
and
come in,
gold.
just squish down, squish your head down. No,
Okay.
like hunch down, not that way, the other way.
Okay.
Like squish down.
Okay. Are we going to wager anything on this?
No, we're gonna get tokens.
Well, there are 10. I don't know if we'll play the whole 10. Let's play up to 5 tokens, okay? And the winner, something.
No, 5 is good because 5 is an odd number. That's
Yeah.
good.
No, but I'm saying, what shall we wager?
You buy lunch next week.
Deal. Okay. Dealio. And then you buy lunch for me next week.
Yeah.
Same, as you always say, it's the same bank account, but still.
Yeah, but it's like
It's the thought of the thing. Okay. So
put the die in.
you take the die, you put it in the hole. That's what she said. It drops in, and then you flush. And then the die pops out of the side, and it lands on a number, and that number was 1. 1. So you got a 1.
I need the plunger.
Now here's what we do. You take the plunger, you go on the toilet, and you plunge once. Nothing happened. Then I get to go. This is a thrillingly educational game. You have to count to 3. Okay, we take the die, and put it in the toilet hole. And oh boy, I get 3 plunges. What that means is, get ready. 1, 2, 3. Oh, nothing yet.
Put the die in.
The excitement is building. Can you feel it at home? Here, you can put the die. We put the die in the thing. There we go. Joyce got a 2. She got 2. She gets 2 plunges in our toilet. No.
Remember, sometimes the first one.
First one always takes forever. Yeah, let's see. Unless I broke it. Let's be surprised. Here we go. Ready? The die comes out. I got a 2.
Yeah.
Well, not lying to you. I just can't really show the whole panoply of this. All right, ready? 2. Get your hands ready.
Yeah.
Hands up. Get your hands up. No.
This is good because I can look on the screen to see when he pops.
Oh, sorry. So we put the die in. Unfortunately, there's no other component to this game.
Yeah.
Whoa! Did you see it? Did you see it, ladies and gentlemen?
How did you catch it?
I know, I did.
You did so good.
And here he is.
You did so well.
Thank you, darling. So I get a token.
You get a token.
I am actually the university's token here.
I love that. Ooh.
Oh no! Look at it. The token skedaddled behind the desk. Is it all the way behind the desk? Did it roll out? Okay, we'll get it later.
We gotta get it.
Yeah, but anyway, here's what he looks like.
How did you do that?
I have no idea. See, he's not the scary flying poop at the that we saw at the beginning. He's more of a very cute, very welcoming. Thank you, dear. Got that?
Yeah.
Adorable poop. This is really what he more sort of looks like. There we go.
Yeah,
See?
he's cute. He's very cute. Okay, say goodbye, poopies.
Oh, bye, poopies. All right.
Okay.
So
Your turn.
there's that token. So I'm
That's your
1-0, winning. So I think
go.
we're gonna go again.
No, we just go round and
Yeah.
round. It's your turn.
Okay, here comes.
I win and you caught it.
Okay, ready? This comes up. I hit it with my hand, but it's a 1. It's a 1. Ready? So we plunge again. Yeah. Also a 1. Get your hands ready. No. Never comes up on a 1Z. There we go.
You never know. Sometimes it does. It's good.
Okay, I got a 2-zer. Ready?
Yeah.
Catch the poop. Oh.
Sometimes you're very good at catching it. I think you play when I'm not around. You
Oh,
practice.
all
You
day long.
practice, yeah.
It's the reason I don't get any work done. Here we go. Ready? Oh. Between this and playing the clue game with myself,
Well, you
Clue
didn't,
them for
you didn't
hours.
roll it.
Oh, you're right. I'm so excited by the game. I got 3.
It's
Ready?
usually good.
Time for 3 plunges up the
Okay.
toilet. Ready? 1, 2. Whoa! She got it.
Give
Oh.
me a token, honey.
Oh yes. So it's a 1-all even game, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, we got 3 more. And
Yeah, this is yeah.
it's a heat.
we got people all over the world watching this right now. So poop. And
Make
this
a
is what
bow.
happens.
Have a bow.
Thank you. This guy kind of got a shaking grin. If you, I don't
He's
know.
so cute.
He is very cute, but he's going back in his little hiding place. Whoop, bye. Okay, ready?
Yeah,
Are you
you're
ready?
good. You're good.
Okay. Gonna put the die in. Gonna pull the lever. I got a 3 on the die cast. Ready? Get your hands. Nah. Joyce got 1. Oh.
It's hard to tell.
Ooh, I got a 3 again. This might happen. This might happen, folks. Alert your neighbors. No.
That's why it's a game of chance.
Oh. I'm not sure how much more
No,
we're
no,
going
you
to
gotta-
subject
no,
our
you
viewers to
gotta-
this. Yeah. Okay, here we go. 1. I got 1. Ready? Watch. Get your hand ready. Whoa! Beautiful.
Good job.
Oh, he came out upside down though,
Oh, did he?
as they sometimes
Oh, no. Okay.
do.
We'll fix
All
it.
right. So, got to catch that one.
You
So
did.
we're
You got
2 to 1.
And we're
for
doing
me.
5.
Yeah, we're up to
we
5.
have 2
So
more.
yeah. Okay.
Oh, this is.
Are we excited, ladies and gentlemen? Are you wagering at home?
We should do shots on it.
Okay, this is yours. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. There should be some. I got a 3, by the way. There should be some thing where it matters who rolls. You know, because this part really doesn't matter. Some person could just be pumping and pumping until someone catches it like that. Yeah. I win.
You win. No, you got 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I win. Oh. Do you want to go for one more? See if you want to catch it?
No.
Oh. What is he doing? Okay. Well, there you go.
You
That's.
can have him watch the show here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got a ringside seat. Well, he has a ringside seat.
Give me the thing. I'll put everything away.
You know what another name for this game should be?
What?
Bowling. A bowl.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think where are the rest of the tokens, honey? Over there.
Oh yeah. I took these are the ones I took out to play with. There we go. So my friends, if you're looking for a holiday gift for your boss or the important
It'd be
people
good
in your
to
life,
grab in the grab bag, don't you think?
it would be a very fun, especially if you know people have kids from ages 4 to 48.
Yeah.
Yeah. FLUSHIN Frenzy, the poop game, gets a big thumbs up.
Always is a lot of fun. And also, it's like it gets people active. They have to catch things. It's very hand-eye coordination.
But can you imagine if children get injured playing this? And then you got to be brought to the emergency room, and how do you explain,
Yes.
what happened? The doctor says, well, yeah, it's a sports injury. But I have to figure, I have fingernails,
Yeah.
because I used to bite them like crazy. I'm a little better now, but imagine young kids, 6, 7 years old, with fingernails, reaching in the same place to grab this thing. I'm sure they tear into each other and give each other scratches.
Cooties.
And cooties. AIDS
Yeah.
could come from this. And one of those diseases they get in the developing countries when nobody, there's no sanitation.
Oh, you can get E. coli.
You get E. coli, you can get kwashiorkor, you can get so it's still a wonderful game. I'm still very proud to be playing FLUSHIN Frenzy here on Dave's Gone By. Oh, wasn't that a joy?
And you won.
I did, yeah, I won.
No.
Yay. Yay.
The winner. You don't have the winner.
The Black Powers.
The winner. The winner. The winner. The winner.
I'm still champion.
Yes.
Or no, we tied last time, or
Yeah,
did
but
you
you
win?
won. You won the first game. We tied. Then you won. So it's 2-0.
Yeah. Well,
Tied
2-1
doesn't count.
2-1 or something like that. Anywho, we still have so much to do on Dave's Gone By, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry if you missed the thrilling and exciting game. But oh my gosh, don't forget, we have a Saturday Segue of songs in the news coming up. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. We're going to be going inside Broadway, of course. We have Joseph Rotenberg, the author, talking about his book, Timeless Travels. So we have a travelogue book of his various visits all over the Middle East and all over the world, too, in fact. And especially New Jersey.
Whoa,
where he
nice.
lives. Yeah.
Exotic.
So before we get to any and all of that, there is another segment that we like to do every week here in the Daverhood with my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. It's called Greeley Crimes at All Times because we live here in Greeley, Colorado, have been for 9.5 years. Maybe for not much longer, we'll see. But for now, we're still here. And the cool thing is, weird things happen in Greeley, Colorado. Like, I can tell you this, but like 3 nights ago, I was, it was like 12:30 in the morning or something like that.
Yeah.
And what happened? I was well, whatever it was, it sounded like gunshots.
Really?
Yeah. Because I came out to the living room. I was kind of looking around to see if there's, and I heard them again. It sounded like they were coming down a reservoir or somewhere like that.
Oh,
No
It
sirens.
might have been a car.
But it wasn't backfiring. It literally sounded like shots. And not that I'm accustomed to hearing gunshots anywhere. And then nothing. No follow-up, no sirens, no.
Did you check
police.
the Grilli Crimes at All Times?
I checked the Tribune. And then the thing is, I checked Next Door Neighborhood, which is this
Oh, yeah,
site I'm
yeah,
going
yeah.
to. And they said that the next night, somebody complained that up around 35th, they heard gunshots. And someone said it was probably hunters. I'm like, who is hunting?
Oh, maybe in the park.
Yeah. Who goes
Geese,
hunting in a park?
Maybe geese.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Because we're talking about a park that's right next to a giant, shopping
There are a
mall.
lot of geese, yeah.
I guess. But I could have sworn it was somebody popping off. Just because it didn't sound like firecrackers, really. It sounded a little different. But anywho, we live in a strange town called Greeley, Colorado, that the Grilli Tribune newspaper, writes about every day. But there are 2 columns specifically that we really enjoy and we enjoy having fun with. One is called Cop Log. No, it's not after eating 3 donuts and a cop does this. No, it's phone calls that come into the dispatch of Greeley and Weld County Police. And sometimes they're really serious and sometimes there are terrible crimes going on. But a lot of the times it's just people who have issues and they compile them, it's public record, and they take the funniest ones and they put them in the newspaper. Also, there's a column called Greeley 100 Years Ago, where they go through the newspapers from 1918, pretty soon 19, and they pick out the most nostalgic, goofiest, oddest stories that were in the papers 10 decades ago.
That's true.
So we mix them up and we put them together and we call this particular segment Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Flag-a-ga-doo, for the autumn did we. La 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 la. Oh, Poop loves this. He loves this segment, yeah. And by the way, we're not neglecting Potato.
I can't. Okay.
Oh, see. Oh, what an exciting life we lead. Oh, wah, wah, wah. Oh, hello. Wah, wah, wah. Don't even. Yeah. Wait, hold on. I drank too much last night. Now I'm shit-faced. Comedy. All right. So Greeley Crimes at All Times. Are you ready, my dear?
Yeah.
Let's get to it. A guest at a local motel called Greeley Police to find out, quote, how much the cops know about me.
Oh, God.
Well, I bet they know a lot more about him now.
I would think they're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to try to learn more, yeah.
Oh. Great names, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Some of my favorite names in the world
Yeah.
are people like, there's an actress named Rashamela Cumbo.
Ooh,
I've always loved
I
that
like
name.
that.
Rashamela Cumbo.
It's very melodic.
What's the name that you have always been like, oh, what a fabulous name?
What was the guy who was president of the UN, the head of the UN? Boutros
Ghali.
I like that it was Boutros.
Yes.
That it was the.
So nice they had to name him twice. Oh,
or
I
maybe
love
it was,
that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. There used to be a girl on the credits of Saturday Night Live named Jenny Eng. And she married a guy named Zletz. Last name was Zletz.
English.
She became Jenny Eng Zletz, which
That's
I love.
Cool. It's a long name to spell for the kids.
Well, we have another great name for you folks. Theopolis Fitz.
That sounds like epilepsy.
Oh, good Lord.
I got the Theopolis Fitz.
Oh, well, it's no great shakes. Theopolis Fitz, a former professor of music at the college here,
Wow.
or whatever it was, normal school, whatever they call it back here, is now in Los Angeles. He has presented theories about singing, which have been printed. And you're going to love this because you have this whole thing about eugenics. Oh, no. You can dig this. He says that everyone has the ability to sing.
Oh, good.
But round-headed people are better singers
That's
because...
phrenology.
Oh, nephron, yeah, right? Oh, yeah. Round-headed people are better singers because their head cavities are the most symmetrical.
You'd be a beautiful singer. Look at your gut symmetrical.
No, I'm oval. I'm not round, I'm oval. There's no singers with long heads come next. Yeah. And oval-headed people, I'm not sure what the difference between long and oval is, are ranked last as singers.
What about square-headed? I'm square.
People with square heads should be put on special trains
and
brought to singing camps with work areas and oversized showers. Yeah. So wow, I'm in the middle there. I'm a longish oval. Am I long or oval?
But you have a good singing voice because you sing.
Back when I had hair,
yeah.
Was I long-headed or oval-headed?
We were always oval. You and your dad are complete oval-headed people, yeah.
And I was very chocolatey 30 years ago. You know why?
You were an oval team.
Yes! I made a noise there. Little Ovaltine joke there. The police responded to 52nd Avenue, where they found a man kneeling in the roadway.
Oh, no.
The man told police he was kneeling in the road because, want to take a wild guess at why?
Was he praying?
Maybe.
No.
Related, could be.
Uh-oh.
Because he had seen the image of God in the street.
That's beautiful.
I think more likely he saw this. One of these lying in the street. Apparently, God looks like a half-eaten pizza slice. Oh, Lordy. Hey, police also responded to, and we've never heard this before, 24th and 24th.
Whoa, it's a derivative of 8th and 8th.
Yeah, 860. That's right.
Yes.
It's 3 times more extraordinary than 8th and 8th. That's very good. I love you. Where a woman wanted to kick her son, a convicted sex offender.
Do the kicking.
Oh yeah. So her son is a convicted sex offender. She wanted to kick him out of the house.
Okay.
The son told police he was registered at her address, but he had spent the past several nights sleeping in a car.
Oh God.
Police told him that his mother doesn't need to evict him if he's living in a car. He opted to sleep outside instead, and police provided him with park hours. In other words, I guess, like, when can you stay in the park all day and just hang out there before you become a vagrant?
I guess, yeah.
Wow.
That's confusing.
But it's nice that police can go out of their way to help a sex offender and give him times in broad daylight. Well, he can look at the children coming out of school. He can watch the pretty girls coming from their offices on lunch
they know
hour.
where he is.
I guess, yeah.
They know.
At least he's out of his mommy's house. They say that. Now is the time to start your Christmas banking club at Grilli Banks. Now check this out. I don't know how this works.
We used to do a Christmas club.
Yeah, no, but
it's the savings account. Yeah.
But I don't understand this. How this was possible back 100 years ago.
Okay.
If you deposit 10 cents, 5 cents, 2 cents, or 1 cent in your weekly account, you will have extra money for next Christmas.
Okay.
The results will be, let's say you have a Christmas account and you put 10 cents in a week.
Okay.
What are you going to come out with around Christmas time, like a year later? Take a guess.
$100.
$127.50.
Great.
How's that possible?
I don't know.
If you put 10 cents in for 50 weeks, isn't that $50? No, $5. It's $5.
But there's interest.
I know. What interest were they getting back then?
I don't know.
If you put even a nickel in, you come out with $63 at the end of the year. 2 cents, $25. 1 penny.
That's better than our interest rates.
This makes no sense. If I put a penny in the bank, 1 week,
I think
every
maybe
week.
next Christmas, so not this Christmas, but next.
No, of course. Let's say you start in January. I'm going to take your money out in December 22nd. 51 weeks.
Yeah.
I put a penny in. If I don't touch it, correct me, you're the math person. Correct me if I'm wrong.
52 cents.
Yeah, 51.52 cents. No, you come out with $12.75. I want to go back 100 years, take $1,000 and be rich.
Maybe they meant 2 years.
I don't know. You know, and you wonder why Wall Street is afraid of rising interest rates.
I know.
You take 100. We know this.
Mhm.
We have, let's say, $1,000 in the bank right now. At the end of the year, you got $1,010.
Yeah.
Here, back then, you take 10 cents to get. How does this happen, ladies and gentlemen? How is this
I
possible?
don't know.
Or maybe they're just lying, because not that bankers would ever lie.
No.
Oh boy! Please hold on. I have to do some nose blowing here. Can I have some nose blowing noise, please? Yeah. Oh, that was a good one. Oh, that was mucus to my ears, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Anywho, police all. Speaking of doggy doo, police responded to 10th Street for a report. Scary. I mean, these are scary times. I'm thinking I'm hearing gunshots. The police responded to 10th Street for a report of a Chihuahua running around in a plaid coat.
Ugh. You know, fashion. Like, at least wear paisley.
Yeah. What is the world coming to?
I know.
Where are the dogs that are wearing Givenchy?
I don't know.
Where are the dogs that are wearing Michael Kors?
He should be wearing like Coach. Why is he wearing the
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
cute though. He's wearing a little outfit. That's cute.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I'm thinking he's wearing plaid because he stole it from a Highland Terrier.
No, doesn't he
Highland
the
Scottish.
Chihuahua in that what's the show where the girl goes to law school? The Dipsy girl goes to law school.
Oh.
Clueless.
No, the other one. No.
When she goes to doesn't that dog wear a little thing like
Yeah,
that?
because she blings him
Yeah.
out. Oh, it was Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, I don't know. You want me to look?
They made a Broadway musical. But they made a Broadway musical of it. You know that. Blonde something. Legally Blonde.
Yes.
There
very
you go.
good.
Anywho, hey, let's go outside Greeley for a moment or two.
Okay.
Because sometimes during Greeley Crimes and Old Times, we leave the vicinity of Weld County and we go further afield for stories to tell you, stories to share with you right here in the Daverhood. Are you ready? I know you are. Okay. Dateline, Helena, Montana. Got a hell of a story here from Helena. A Montana man who thought he was shooting at Bigfoot on Sunday.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
That's the sci-fi music.
That's a week ago, last Sunday. A Montana man who thought he was shooting at Bigfoot. Well, he made a big mistake here.
Mm-mm.
The supposed Sasquatch
Oh no.
was actually a fellow human
Oh God.
setting up targets to shoot in a local forest area.
Oh my God.
The 27-year-old victim narrowly avoided death
Yeah.
when one bullet hit 3 feet to his left and another bullet whizzed by him on the right, according to Idaho Statesman.
Why would he shoot Sasquatch?
Well,
Sasquatch is our friend.
yeah, but the fur. Have you ever worn a Sasquatch coat?
Probably rare.
I've been wanting to,
Mhm.
but not Yeti. Yeah. Oh, your feet's too big. Police said the victim tried to avoid more gunfire by running into the trees before he was able to confront his shooter, a man in a black Ford F-150.
Wow.
It
How
must
do
be
you
an
know
SUV.
so specific like the car?
I don't know. The alleged shooter, the shooter, told the victim, quote, "I thought you were Bigfoot," the sheriff told the paper. The victim added that the suspect told him, "I don't target practice, but if I see something that looks like Bigfoot, I just shoot at it."
Oh my God.
I think they call that the Dick Cheney defense. The shooter then told his victim to wear orange if he didn't want to be
Yeah.
confused with Bigfoot.
How could he look like Bigfoot?
I don't
Was
know.
he wearing like some kind of Chewbacca outfit?
Well, he had the T-shirt, "I am Bigfoot."
Oh, there you go.
They didn't realize he got that at the gift shop. Yeah. Oh, man. The shooter then told his that's right. Deputies have yet to find a vehicle matching the description, but Sheriff Leo Dutton told the Idaho Statesman that a woman has come forward saying she, too, has been shot at by a man in a black
Wow.
F-150. Authorities are looking to find the man.
Man.
It's going to be harder to find him than Bigfoot. It's like they'll find Bigfoot finally, and then this guy will come out.
I won't find out.
The Japanese soldier who didn't know that World War II was over until 1970. I sure for Bigfoot. Anywho, we're doing Grilli Crimes at all times, ladies and gentlemen, here in the Daverhood on Dave's Gone By. A resident of Greeley went to our local police department because his father ran into a kid on his bike while driving the night before. The kid was on the bike, the father was in the car. Well, that's bad. The man said his father had also struck an elderly woman last month.
God.
The man doesn't think his father should be driving anymore.
No.
Man.
That is true.
Actually,
I'm going to run to the loo, baby.
there ought to be bad Uber. Well, you know, like for people who want to pay less but take a risk with a driver who shouldn't be on the road anymore, like a 90-year-old.
Hey.
I'm just saying. Maybe I'll wrap up Grilli Crimes, or you want to come back and do some more? I'll do an ad. So I want to remind you, if you're having fun watching us play the wonderful Flush It game or doing Grilli Crimes at all times, the Dave's Gone By is partially brought to you by the fine folks at Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway in Hewlett, New York. They have been around since the mid-1970s, owning and operating this franchise of Minuteman, which makes copies. That's one of a zillion things they do. For example, of course, black and white copies, double-sided, single-sided, color copies, bound, perfect bound, spiral binding. They can do magazines, journals, books. They can also put your logo or design or silk screen on a jacket or piece of clothing, or a coffee mug, perhaps, or sporting equipment. Anything that's going to help you get news and info about your company out to the public to promote yourself, Hewlett Minuteman Press can help you with. And you get 10% off any job, big or small, if you just tell them Dave sent you from Dave's Gone By. So say, hey, walk into Minuteman Press. You have a job that might cost hundreds of dollars. Maybe you're doing a big presentation, or maybe you've got a party, or you need wedding invitations done, because they do that too. Tell them Dave sent you, 10% off at Hewlett Minuteman Press. Give them a call, 516-569-5577, 516-569-5577. I have the feeling that their hours between like Monday and the beginning of the year might be all over the place, or they might close for a few days. So make sure you call and check before using them this time of year. But boy, oh boy, come January 2nd, they'll be open 8:30 in the morning to take your order and help you at Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are the copy kings. And I do feel king of the universe when I do this Facebookio podcastio program of the stream, Dave's Gone By, every Saturday from 9 until noonish or thereabouts, Mountain Time, here on Facebook. The page, of course, is Radio Dave Lefkowitz. So invite your friends, invite your enemies, invite your neighbors. I want to say, it's funny, I again, it looks like nobody's watching, and yet suddenly I'm seeing thumbs up and hearts. So Billy, I can see Billy is watching. Hello, Billy, and hello, Bob, who was on our show just a week or two ago, and a bunch of other folks are actually tuning in, which is wonderful. We're here every Saturday, and if you missed the program, or if you like a particular episode and you want to tell someone, hey, you should give this a listen. We had these really cool guests on a couple of weeks ago. Or this segment was really funny or entertaining, or he played cool music. Because back, 2 or 3 or 5 or 16 years ago, I played a lot more music than I can play now. Those shows are all archived, and you can get them all at davesgoneby.com. Dave, like my name, DAVES. Goneby, davesgoneby.com. And the archives are absolutely free. You can stream them directly on your computer, or you can download them to your iPod, to any listening device as an MP3. They're there for you to enjoy, going all the way back to our very first episode in October of 2002, right up to the show we did last week. And then this program will be archived, assuming everything comes out okay, by this time tomorrow. So remember, davesgoneby.com, and the way to reach me is davesgoneby@aol.com. Perfect timing. I need to take a voice break.
What's the last one?
We need 1 or 2 more.
Okay.
Grilli Crimes.
Oh, look, you got
and
a
old
little
times.
love. See, Billy.
Yeah, Billy and Bob and some other
That's
folks.
so weird that we're not.
I don't know why we're not seeing them, but it's great that they're there.
Yeah.
And we always thank our listeners and viewers for watching and listening. Not in that order.
And give them tokens.
Here, you get tokens from Joyce and me for being with us and for playing the game. And for those of you who don't like the show, there's this, and there's this. They don't like Dave's Gone By. If you don't like the neighborhood, this is where you belong. So there. Oh no. Joyce dropped a token. I miss Subway tokens. Don't you? I hate those stupid little soggy cards.
Jewelry where you can wear jewelry. Like they make jewelry.
Well, can you do it on your phone now, or they don't do that yet? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant people would take their jewelry and get in through the turnstiles. You're saying they took the old tokens and made them into jewelry.
Yeah, like in tie clips and stuff, so they have all that.
I'm wondering if we're coming to the point where people can take their phones, scan them, and walk through the.
That would make perfect sense.
Anyway,
that's next time.
Finishing up Greeley crimes and old times. A resident went to the Greeley police. Oh, I just did this one. I'm sorry. In the no good can come of this department, police responded to Luther Park. Don't even know where that is.
I don't either.
Luther Park for a report of a man leaving the park with a trap full of squirrels.
No good can come of that.
No, as I said, no good can come of that. I mean, maybe a coat can come of that.
Some stew.
Ooh.
A little Instapot or squirrel casserole.
Is it illegal?
I don't know. They're rodents.
Yeah. So he's doing, in some ways, people a favor.
But I don't think you can go. It's public land. Isn't the park public? I don't know.
Yeah, like if I were to go in places where the marmots and
or you gotta grab a goose or something, you can't.
Right, or I guess you can't. Somebody else, hunters doing it now, perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
Then, now we talked before about Theophilus Fitz. Let's not forget old Tug Wilson of Nunn. I don't want to know how he got that nickname, but Tug Wilson of Nunn gave out his annual Christmas presents from his store
that's nice.
on Christmas morning. Nunn, by the way, is a former town here.
No, it's still Alton Nunn.
Nunn still exists? Oh, let's go to Nunn.
And Alt, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, let's take a helicopter there so we can say we were in the Flying Nun. Dang it. None of the above. All the children in the community stand in front of the store, and he gives each one a bag of candy and nuts.
That's nice.
Tug Wilson has been doing this for many years.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
So if you walk up to the store, give a tug, and he'll show you his nuts.
That's nice.
Yeah, isn't that lovely? Isn't that good
nice
old Tug Wilson of Nunn, ladies and gentlemen? And finally, and not a moment too soon, my friends, Police Chief Florence and 2 hunting buddies made the trip to Marino this week for their annual goose hunting trip for the new year. Marino, I don't know. I guess it'll be a wild and woolly story. After fighting deep snow on the roads, driving 90 miles, and standing in the cold for 13 hours, the men came home without a single goose. They said they would never do that again, even for all the geese in the world.
Whoa. They should just go to our local parks. They would have had
right? I'm gonna give my girl a goose for Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Christmas goose early.
Yes, indeed. So John Candy. I'll do it. I got my Christmas goose early.
Give me the plunger. I'll plunge it.
Yeah, Joyce's gonna plunge my anus.
No.
Oh wait, what are you plunging?
Love handle.
I wonder. Let's see how Tug Wilson did it.
Oh, God.
That actually hurts more than it's pleasurable. Yeah. Anyway, it's Dave's Gone By. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Time here in Greeley, Colorado. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. That is my darling and adorable wife, Joyce.
Oh, sorry.
Say hi, Joyce.
Hey, Joyce.
Who played our plunger game and who also joined us.
You forgot to say you lost.
Who I beat handily in the FLUSHIN. What was it? FLUSHIN Frenzy game.
David, I'm
Oh,
going
what
to my
fun.
salad here.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
going to take a walk to a local coffee shop, and then I'll leave my salad here.
Okay, so going to go and come back here. What?
You'll meet me, but I'll bring it home later. I'm not going to carry it because they don't allow outside food.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, of course. So, well, let's see.
They say they're open, but with the holiday, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it's not the holiday yet.
Okay.
Well, anyway, as I said, it's 10 o'clock, 10:01 now, Mountain Time. We do this program every Saturday from 9 until noon or thereabouts, called Dave's Gone By. It is our 678th episode of the show. on this Saturday, December 22nd, 2018. We're calling it Timely Travels in honor of our upcoming guest, talking to Rabbi Saul Solomon later in the show. His name is Joseph Rotenberg, and he wrote this, Timeless Travels, about his many trips all over the world, but especially Israel, which is why the Rabbi is so incredibly interested. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned coming up. We've also got...
Which town?
Colorado Limerick of the Damned is for Dacono.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Oh, well, I've managed to find a limerick, or to create.
Something did you know Dacono? Probably.
Something like that. I don't know if Yoko Ono shows up.
That's good.
I'm not sure she does. I don't
That
know.
would have been a good one, though.
Yoko, that was another name that I used to do.
What?
If Yoko Ono married Sonny Bono, she'd be Yoko Ono Bono. Isn't that cool?
That's crazy. But she wouldn't probably take Sonny's name. She didn't take Lennon.
Well, yes, she did. They took mutual names. She became Yoko Ono Lennon. He became John Lennon Ono, or Ono Lennon.
Oh, really?
They did that mutual name thing because they were advanced at that point.
They were advanced?
They were advanced. No, because like John never took Cynthia's name. That was a more traditional thing. It would have been John Twist Lennon or Yoko Ono Twist. What would have been cool if they'd done like a triangular relationship, which would have been interesting to watch, I'll tell you. Anywho, we also have, the continuing saga of Jamie O'Rourke
That's a great one.
and the Big Potato, an Irish folktale adapted by Tommy DePaola that we do in our Storytime segment on Dave's Gone By. And we have a Mind segment devoted to Penny Marshall. What else? And we'll be going inside Broadway in just a moment. Oh, do we want to do, I don't know. Why not? Why don't we do a big dictionary? So before you leave, one more segment that we'll do later in the program. Joyce takes this book, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary of more than 75,000 definitions, thumbs through it at random, crack those knuckles, tweak those nipples, and she's going to find a word. What's the word?
The word is marigold.
Marigold?
It says any of a genus of tropical American herbs related to the daisies that are grown for their showy, usu, unusual, yellow, orange, or maroon flower heads. And it's right before marijuana, so you're like, I didn't get marigold.
Yeah, marigold. Oh boy.
Marigold.
I know there's a song by Rufus Wainwright. That's the only. I don't know.
That's a hard one.
Marigold. I'll Google during some. The color of my song is kind of daisy-ish, marigoldish. There you go.
Yes.
I know. Okay, that could possibly be something.
Or the plunger color, or the.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's more
think,
yellow.
yeah.
Anyway, love you,
There's
sweetie.
some marigold there.
So I'm seeing you coming back here?
No.
Oh, no. Oh,
I'm going to go to a coffee shop that's making pretty
oh,
good.
maybe. I'll bring that one.
Okay.
Love you, sweetie. Anyway, we're back with more of Dave's Gone By right now. And so one of the things that I do love to do on every single episode of the show, just about, since I am a playwright and a theater journalist and a theater critic and have been for many, many years, I like to talk about the theater and keep you posted on the goings on and off Broadway. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Curtain going up. Inside Broadway we go every week here in the Daverhood because theater is important to me. I find it exciting. I find it interesting. And, you can go everywhere and find out about the latest movies or, what's happening with their pop stars and what they're up to. It's front page news all the time. And yet things happen on Broadway, along with the West End, the cornerstone of art and culture of the Western world in some ways. And yet nobody really talks about it as much as they should, but I do. And controversy. We begin with controversy on Inside Broadway today, Saturday, December 22nd, because we had an argument going on over the direction of an upcoming Broadway play revival. Now, they're going to be reviving Arthur Miller's classic play, All My Sons, on Broadway in the spring. And it was to be, was to be directed by veteran director Gregory Mosher. Okay, fine. It's a production by the Roundabout Theater, and they're going to be opening it in the middle of April at their American Airlines Theater on Broadway. Well, Gregory Mosher wanted to cast a pair of African-American actors to play brother and sister in the show. The estate of Arthur Miller objected to that for whatever reasons the Arthur Miller estate had. So now neither side is going to budge. And it wasn't, by the way, that the Arthur Miller estate just wanted an all-white cast, but they objected very specifically to casting these two Black people as brother and sister African-American characters in this town, in this time. So Greg Mosher stepped aside. He left the production, which is still going to open, except now Jack O'Brien is going to direct All My Sons. Rebecca Miller, who is Arthur Miller's daughter, told the press that casting those two actors, just them and nobody else, would lessen the feeling of racism of the time that the play takes place, which is right around the years following World War II. She was okay with casting everybody in a colorblind way, but then Gregory Mosher objected to that, and this is the thing I don't get. He not only has stepped off this project, but he says that he has severed ties with Roundabout Theater Company, which, I mean, if the argument is with the estate of Arthur Miller, I don't know why he would suddenly start cutting off ties with a Roundabout Theater Company that just wants to produce this revival of the show. Maybe he felt they should back him up more and drop the show or do something else instead of capitulating to the Miller estate. I don't know. But all we do know is that Roundabout is still going to be doing All My Sons, and it will be directed now, not by Gregory Mosher, but by Jack O'Brien. And here's some happier news, some cool news of something that 10, 15 years ago, and before that, certainly never used to happen. Unheard of. Now, tons of shows have started off Broadway, and then they were popular, their runs went through, more people wanted to see them, so they moved to Broadway. It was insanely rare for the other thing to happen, for it to go backwards, vice versa, for a show to be well received and kind of a hit on Broadway, and then go off Broadway. Usually a show would end its run, quit, the actors would go home, and it was over. But now more and more we're getting shows that have really good, healthy, happy Broadway runs, and then they stop. But there's still people who want to see them. So instead of ending everything and concentrating on the national tour, they bring the same show off Broadway. And they did it with Jersey Boys. They did it with Avenue Q. They did it with $1 Million Quartet. They did it with that Hitchcock-based comedy that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Not The Man Who Knew Too Much, but something like that. Anyway, so this is happening now. Almost every year, there's a show that ends its run on Broadway and now moves to off-Broadway. The latest is going to be, you guessed it, The Play That Goes Wrong. That farce from England, which everybody thought would not, would be a cute little run for a couple of weeks, got some decent reviews from the critics. Audiences have a riot. They love it. They because it's pure, zany, goofy, old-fashioned farce. So it's been running on Broadway for much longer than anybody thought it would, like a year and a half. Finally, they said, okay, we're closing. In fact, they were going to close months ago. And then they took away the closing notice and kept running it because people wanted to see it. Now, it is still closing on January 6th, a week and a half from now, at the Lyceum Theater on Broadway. It's reopening February 20th at New World Stages, which is where Avenue Q and $1 Million Quartet have been. Its producer Kenny Wax said of the show, after 2 years on Broadway, we think that we are finally ready for off-Broadway. And if you haven't seen The Play That Goes Wrong, it's about these English, this low-budget amateur theatrical group putting on a murder mystery where every single possible thing in terms of casting, in terms of the set falling apart, goes completely wrong. I have to admit, I did not find it a laugh riot. I got a few chuckles out of it. I was one of those people who sit there, and I love comedy, believe me. But looking at all the people around me going, why are they laughing so hysterically? And I even took my aunt, who is a better laugher than I am. And we were both looking at each other saying, oh, this is cute. Why is everybody hysterical? So it might be your cup of English tea, might not. But if you haven't decided whether you wanted to see it or you didn't get to see it by when it closes on Broadway in January, you'll have a chance because it's coming back off Broadway in February. Well, I did mention earlier in the show that unfortunately, a lot of the time that we do this segment inside Broadway tends to be devoted to people who die. It's the thing, it's like, oh, so-and-so died, and they did a lot of theater, so we got to talk about it. So that's what we're going to talk about. People die, we tell you who died. Donald Moffat, the veteran actor, speaking of British people, British actor, died at the age of 87 on Thursday of a stroke. He started on Broadway back in 1957 in a production of Under Milkwood. I was going to say Oscar Wilde, but of course, no, that's Dylan Thomas. He worked as a bartender, also as a lumberjack. He didn't want to be a lumberjack with the mighty Scotch pine. And then he joined Phoenix Repertory APA, which did a lot of classic plays back in the 1950s and 60s, and really got a lot of actors their starts on Broadway. So check it out. Donald Moffat acted with John Gielgud in a production of Much Ado About Nothing. He was directed by Laurence Olivier in a 5-performance flop called The Tumbler. His co-stars in that show, by the way, Charlton Heston and Rosemary Harris. He played Grandpa Vanderhoff in You Can't Take It With You, in a hit staging directed by Ellis Rabb in 1965. And he just did a ton of classics, thanks to the Phoenix and the APA. He did The Wild Duck, for which he got a Tony nomination, School for Scandal, The Cherry Orchard. He was in a Sean O'Casey play called Cock-a-Doodle Dandy in 1969. They're doing a bunch of Sean O'Casey plays at Irish Repertory off Broadway in January. They're not doing Cock-a-Doodle Dandy. But anyway, that show was directed by the aforementioned Jack O'Brien, the guy who's taking over on All My Sons, and it features our friend of the Daverhood, Christina Pickles, back in 1969. Wow. Anyway, Donald Moffat, in 1970, he played Horatio to Ellis Rabb's Hamlet, and he was featured in the 1985 revival of The Iceman Cometh, opposite Jason Robards. So, and he was in that wonderful 1995 revival of The Heiress that made Cherry Jones a big star. And also the late Philip Bosco, he just died 2 weeks ago. He was in there. Finally, if people know, because I can mention all these plays, I can mention the name Donald Moffat. I'm sure most of the people watching and listening to this show are like, who is that? I can't picture. You're Googling to find this face, and then you go, oh, him. So you might remember that he played LBJ in the film The Right Stuff, and he also had a major role in the John Carpenter movie, The Thing. Well, the thing of it is, Donald Moffat has passed away at the age of 87. Well, we have more to tell you about Broadway and the theater in Inside Broadway, but not before we push this wonderful magazine, Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway, since 1944. Yeah, I wasn't involved with it back then, but I am now. It's this important journal for people who want to know about every single show on, off, and off Broadway. Go page by page. You've got not only a table of contents, of course, but you've got a guide to every show either playing or going to be playing on Broadway in the months and years ahead. You've got a guide to all the press agents who handle the shows. You have a guide to the Broadway theaters and their tenants. In other words, what show is playing where? Who owns the theater? Is it Niederlander, Schubert, Jujamson? How many seats does that theater have? A lot of information important for theater people. Day by day, Broadway. What are shows starting? Previews, opening, and closing on the Great White Way. And you can't get this anywhere else. A list of previews, opening dates, and closing dates for every show off and off Broadway. It's not proprietary information. I mean, you can dig this stuff up, but boy, oh boy, the work you would have to do, the time you would have to spend, the number of windows on your computer you would need to open to just get what we give you page by page in the pages of Performing Arts Insider. And then, of course, the meat of the magazine are Broadway listings, incredibly comprehensive information. Let's just pick any show at random. Oh, a wonderful show written by friends of the Daverhood, Come From Away, which is on Broadway. It's all about what happened on 9/11, where these airplane passengers had to land in the middle of Canada and then be taken care of by these people for almost a week. And they made a musical about it. So here's who wrote it. Here's the director, the choreographer, the designers, and also the contact information, the actors, the plot. What else do we have in there? How many awards it won? It didn't not win the Best Musical Tony Award, but it won some other awards. Some notes about the show, all the producers who are involved in it and how to contact them, the press agent handling the show, the theater that it's in, the dates. Imagine that level of information about every single show on Broadway that's going to be opening on Broadway in the months ahead. So there's the Broadway upcoming section, which has shows like Beetlejuice and the Temptations musical Ain't Too Proud, and then every show off and off Broadway too. Right up to like the very last page, we have a guide to all the unions and guilds handling theater, and then our huge index in the back. It's all in the pages of Performing Arts Insider. For more information, go to performingartsinsider.com, performingartsinsider.com, and remember that Performing Arts Insider is brought to you by the fine folks at Total Theater and their website, totaltheater.com. That website is absolutely free to everyone. If you care about theater, if you love reading reviews of Broadway shows and off-Broadway shows and regional theater and festivals and international theater, totaltheater.com is the place for you. Do give it a look. Stan is commenting on my comment about the number of windows you would need to open to get all this information. It's true. Not only would you have to open windows, but cupboards and doors as well. You have to holler out the door and ask people, hey, who's handling this show? No, just pick up Performing Arts Insider and they'll tell you. Anyway, let's get back to Inside Broadway on Dave's Gone By on this Saturday, December 22nd, 2018. Little happy news. Speaking of people who are producing and making money on Broadway, which is always a crapshoot, more than 2/3 of the shows that open in a given season are actually going to lose money. Maybe they make it back on selling the rights to the movies or when they tour it and stuff. So it's kind of rare-ish when the show can proudly announce, hey, we're in the black. We've made our money back, and everything after this is gravy. Well, one such show that is able to say that this week is Lifespan of a Fact. That is the comedy drama featuring Bobby Cannavale, Daniel Radcliffe, the Harry Potter guy, and Sherry Jones, the aforementioned, that's playing at Studio 54. It's based on this true story about news, about a story that's been published in the newspaper, and it's mostly true, but not 100% true, and certain things were embellished, and now you've got the editor and the writer and people getting involved and saying what's true, what's important to be true, what isn't. Sounds like a really cool show. I wish it were running longer than January 13th, because I really wish I could get to see it. But it's Lifespan of a Fact, featuring, and it's over at Studio 54, and they have just announced, they didn't say a dollar figure, but they have announced that they made their money back, and they've got 3 weeks left in the run, which means that if they break even for those weeks, everything that they make is now pure profit, which is, for a straight play with famous actors in it, that's pretty good. The director is Lee Silverman, and to find out more about it, go to lifespanofafact.com. Well, I want to let you know, by the way, that we've lost a couple of other people in the theatrical Daverhood. We lost John Ford Noonan, who wrote a couple of White Chicks Sitting Around Talking. He passed away just this week. And at one point I met and even interviewed his brother, Tom Noonan, who was an actor, playwright, and director. So my condolences go out to him. And I want to let you know that Peter Masterson has passed away. He died on Wednesday at the age of 84. Peter Masterson is an actor. You've seen him in The Exorcist and In the Heat of the Night. He directed, he works a lot with the late Horton Foote, one of our great treasurable playwrights in America, and the guy who also adapted To Kill a Mockingbird for film back in the day, as opposed to the Aaron Sorkin To Kill a Mockingbird that we have on Broadway right now. But anyway, he directed the film version of Foote's The Trip to Bountiful, which have Geraldine Geraldine Page and Oscar, if you remember that. He also, most of Peter Masterson's other films have been forgotten, even though he's worked with these A and B list actors like crazy, people like Diane Keaton and Giancarlo Giannini and Sam Shepard and Julia Roberts the year before Pretty Woman clicked. She was in a movie of his. Robert Duvall, James Earl Jones. All these folks were in movies by Peter Masterson. On Broadway, his first acting gig was in 1963 in the June Havoc play Marathon 33, which is, it's not, they didn't adapt that into They Shoot Horses, Don't They? That was different material. But it had that similar setup. It was set, a dark drama set in the world of the dance contest that they had during the Depression. Peter Masterson played the title role in a Broadway show called The Trial of Lee Harvey Oswald, a flop in 1967. And he was in, here's where he first met James Earl Jones. He was in the hit The Great White Hope back in 1968. And most notably for this segment for Inside Broadway, Peter Masterson and Larry L. King co-wrote the 2 Broadway musicals, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, and its not so terrible 1994 sequel, The Best Little Whorehouse Goes Public. And Masterson directed both of them, and he won a Drama Desk Award and a Tony nomination for staging Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, the original one. He was married to Carlin Glynn, and also, and condolences go out to her, and to their daughter, Mary Stuart Masterson, the actress. She lost her dad, who was Peter Masterson, who passed away on Wednesday at the age of 84. Are we through with the death and the dying? No, sorry, one more. And a pretty big one for one particular show more than anything else. Farewell to Arthur Terence Galt McDermott, who died on December 17th. He was the composer of 2 notable shows. One of them was 1971's Two Gentlemen of Verona, which I think was Tony, I think he got some awards for that one. I don't know if I have that there. Yeah, he did. I'm sorry. Sorry for blanking on you for a moment. Verona, though it's not as well known as his other big show, it won the Best Musical Tony in 1971, and Galt McDermott was nominated for Best Score. But no, the reason you know that name, Galt McDermott and James Rado and Gerald Ragney, or is it Gerald Rado and Jerome Ragney? Something like that. They worked on a little musical in 1967 at the Public Theater called Hair, the tribal love rock musical. Born in Quebec, Galt McDermott studied in South Africa and then moved to New York in 1964. And this is kind of an odd, weird Dave's Gone By-ish fact, but Cannonball Adderley, he shows up again 2 weeks in a row, because last week, Cannonball Adderley was instrumental in helping the career of Nancy Wilson, the singer who passed away a week or so ago. Cannonball Adderley also helped Galt McDermott, because his recording of McDermott's African Waltz in 1960 won a Grammy Award. So that kind of put McDermott on the map. Well, when Hair came out, it was a sensation. It moved, of course, from the Public Theater to Broadway. Songs from the show reached the pop charts and won Grammy Awards. Let's see. He did have other shows after that. I mean, what you have a hit like Hair and your head brimming with music, you're going to write more shows. But those were unbelievable flops. Musicals like Dude and Via Galactica. He had a show in 1995 off-Broadway called Time and the Wind, which kind of came and went. In later years, though, he still kept on making music. He had a band called the New Pulse Band. So, yeah, big farewell to Galt McDermott. It is still, for my money, as much as I love, and really do love Hedwig and the Angry Inch, Hair is still the milestone best rock musical of all. Just song after song, so catchy, so memorable, so true to the feeling of the period that they were trying to get. So let's hear, let's hear maybe the best known song from Galt McDermott's show. I want to cue this up right so I can play a little bit of it here. Okay, there we go. Let's get it to this point. Da-da-da-da-da. And yeah, you think you don't know Hair or Galt McDermott? Sure you do, because you absolutely know this song that just sends shivers for anybody who hears it.
Life is around you and in you, and supporting you.
That's the 1968 original Broadway cast of the musical Hair, co-written by Galt McDermott. And I saw the revival of Hair on Broadway a few years ago. Then, it's a tangled, messy show. It's more about theme than actual story arcs, although there is a powerful one. But boy, oh boy, some of the songs in there, something. It's quite something. And that's how we end our segment of Dave's Gone By's Inside Broadway here in our theatrical universe. And Stan says, thank you for the potato sighting. Oh, yeah, there's always got to be a potato. Stan, unfortunately, Stan tuned in late. Stan is with us pretty much every week, watching us on Facebook and listening to us in the Daverhood. But he came about an hour late to the show. So, Stan, you missed pretty much all of Greeley Crimes and Old Times, and you missed our playing the game. You missed FLUSHIN Frenzy that I played with Joyce earlier in the show. Yeah. So if you want to go back and see that, remember that we save our videos here on the Facebook page, Radio Dave Lefkowitz. And as I said before, you can go to davesgoneby.com, davesgoneby.com, and listen and watch shows that we've had from the very beginning. So do give it a look. Not right now, because you're listening to the live show, but there's 6.5 days a week when we're not here. We're always there at the website. and Stan just gave me a whole line of poop emojis. Thank you, Stan. You know the way to my heart. Well, I have a lot of heart for the rest of this program because we've got so much cool stuff to do. We've got StoryTime with the continuation, the thrilling conclusion of Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato. We have Dave's Big Dictionary, where I will be talking about the word marigold. No idea. Honestly, no idea what the hell I'm going to do with that. Let's see. On a Saturday Segue of songs in the news. That's coming up as well. Let's get our Colorado Limerick of the Damned out of the way. I'm in the mood for a little bit of poetry. Since we've been cultural in terms of talking about theater, what could be even more cultural than a poem? So every week we do a Colorado Limerick of the Damned. This is a short 5-line poem, as limericks tend to be, and we've been doing them about different towns and cities in Colorado. And being that they're limericks, of course, they tend to be a little risque and raunchy. So you want to get your kids perhaps out of the room for our Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
You're the poetry man.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain,
Rado. Yes, we go to different places in Colorado. We've been doing them in kind of alphabetical order here, of all these different short poems about places in Colorado, our Colorado Limericks of the Damned. So, I'm getting a weird spinny wheel here, so I hope I can lose all our viewers. Oh, no, that seems to have been cleared up. So today's Colorado Limerick of the Damned, we go to Dacono, Colorado. For more information about them, it's cityofdacono.com. If you go to their website, it's Dacono offers a small town atmosphere with big city connections. Now the name, I didn't know this, but the name Dacono comes from the names of 3 different women. Daisy Baum, Cora Van Voorhees, and Nora Brooks. Get it? Daisy, D-A, da, Cora, co, and Nora, no, Dacono. Daisy was the wife of the president of the town's coal company. Cora was the town's female minister who married them, and Nora was a family friend. Anyway, Dacono was settled in 1901. The city itself is part of Weld County, and it is home to the Colorado National Speedway and the Love and Arms Animal Sanctuary. So yeah, Dacono, Colorado. Let's go there for our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, shall we? We shall. A kind-hearted whore from Dacono would offer her Fridays pro bono. She'd not charge a nickel to slap, tease, and tickle, though fucking her ass was a no-no. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. You can bring the kids back into the room now for more of Dave's Gone By. We get much more high-toned now. We get much more serious. Well, maybe not serious, but much more interesting for sure. Because now we're going to get on to our guest in the Daverhood, the author, Joseph Rotenberg. He has written a book. He's compiled, essentially, a book of his essays and stories about traveling all over Israel and various other parts of the world. And he sort of takes on another persona when he's writing the book, and then writes about other things as well. But he's grouped all these short essays into a book called Timeless Travels. There it is. I'll give you that. We'll probably show that during his conversation with, of course, I would love to talk to Joseph Rotenberg. I've read part of his book so far, but no, since he's dealing so much with Israel, of course, we're going to bring Rabbi Saul Solomon into the Daverhood for this segment, especially since we're still so close to the Hanukkah holiday. And for Christians who care a lot, of course, about Israel and Jerusalem, you're not going to want to go anywhere. You're going to want to hear Rabbi Saul Solomon talking right now to Joseph Rotenberg on Dave's Gone By.
Hi, my name is Joseph Rotenberg. I'm the author of a book that I recently published called Timeless Travels, Tales of Mystery, Intrigue, Humor, and Enchantment. Buy my book on Amazon. You'll have a great time reading it, I promise you. I'm talking today with Rabbi Saul Solomon on Dave's Gone By. Shalom Aleichem, Greeley.
Oh, shalom, my friends. Shalom, damn it, my enemies. And welcome to all of you. Let me tell you something. I love doing this program. I also love music and theater and art. And, of course, I also love Israel. Well, let me tell you something about our guest today in the Daverhood. This man, Joseph Rotenberg, knows Israel. He has been there 30 times. He went to university there, and he has mostly lived actually in a place, you should pardon the expression, called New Jersey. But he knows Israel so much, and he's even written a book that is just suffused with Israeli history and culture and heritage and modern times as well. It's called Timeless Travels, Tales of Mystery, Intrigue, Humor, and Enchantment. It was recently published by Geffen Publishing. You gotta get it, and you gotta hear him now talking about his tales. One Amazon reader said of the book, Timeless Travels, quote, "Now reading it for the second time, even knowing how the stories end, I find myself nodding along as Rotenberg paints a tapestry more beautiful than the cloak depicted on the book's cover." So please, will you welcome the modern Orthodox Jew and author, Joseph Rotenberg. Shalom, Joseph.
Shalom to you, Rabbi. What a beautiful introduction.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it is a beautiful cover on that book. Is it a depiction of Joseph's coat of many colors or something else on there?
Absolutely. You nailed it, Rabbi. This was a woodcut, a painted woodcut, which I received as a birthday present from the author, a well-known Israeli artist called Ben Avram, a student of Chagall, and it hangs on one of my levels of the split level here in New Jersey where I live.
Wow. Now, did you know that I, too, am a student of Chagall? Irving Chagall, he taught me math in 5th grade. I used to beat my knuckles when I get, now, bad memory, but you have so many good memories of going to Israel. Let's talk about the first time you made Aliyah. How old were you?
Well, I didn't actually make Aliyah, being, an American citizen. I went as a student. First time I visited Israel was in 1967, shortly after completing high school in New York. One of my uncles, recently widowed, said, "Joe, I'm going to Israel. You want to come along?" My parents said, "Okay." And at 17 and a half, those days, the airplane of choice was a 707. Did not have the fuel capacity to get to the Middle East without stopping twice. So I went with, I believe in those days, it was Olympic Airways, Onassis Airway.
Yeah.
Got nauseous being my first flight ever. By the time I got to Tel Aviv, I wanted to give up flying. But it was a wonderful adventure. This was just in the wake of the 6-Day War.
So this 1967 is the last year anybody would want to be going to Israel, but the war was over by then?
Well, they call it the Six-Day War. It didn't last that long.
True.
And in late May to early June of 67, and I guess I arrived in Israel in August and spent 3 weeks there. It was eye-opening, just visiting all the historic biblical places that I had read about. I grew up in a modern Orthodox home, so that was my first taste in the Bible of great literature. And from there, it was like walking through the pages of history. It was amazing experience.
Let me ask you for our listeners, because amazingly enough, we have some goyish listeners. Not a lot of shiksas, but you do have some shakitses, some goys. So could you explain to us, when you say modern Orthodox, people may not know, you're not walking around like the Chabadniks.
The Jewish people were either observant of the law, what we call the halakha, which is a Jewish law, or they weren't. I don't think at any time in history, maybe even going back to biblical times, if you had 15 or 20% of the population who was truly observant, and the rest of the population blended in with what the local populations were like. So they weren't particularly observant of Jewish traditions. Only in America did we have a sectarian, breaking down into various sects. Reform Judaism, who believe that the religion has to be modified to reflect modern times. Conservatives sort of in the middle. And Orthodox keeping the older traditions, the rabbinic rules, as well as the biblical rules.
But there's also a difference between heavy Orthodox and what people call the modern.
Exactly, right. It's a good point. You can break down the Orthodox into those who, let's say, are the Hasidim, who are what today is called the ultra-Orthodox. It's that old question of saying that you think you're religious, but you're not as religious as I am, not as observant as I am. Well, ultimately, the matters of faith, right, and what you believe, and frankly, no matter what your traditional beliefs are, and this certainly relates to the non-Jewish world, if it doesn't assist you in making moral, ethical judgments in your day-to-day life, interpersonal relationships, then you can pray 3 times a day, 5 times a day. It's not going to make a difference if it doesn't have that transformative effect on the person doing the praying. So he becomes a better person. I mean, it sounds like I'm on a soapbox, but that's my personal belief.
Well, I know it is a shame that we have to break all these things down into different sects. For me, the only sects that are important are oral sex and anal sex, of which I partake.
Among some, that is true. Others are more traditional.
But do you wear a yarmulke all the time?
Not all the time, because I rely on rabbinical edicts that when I'm out in the general world population where I'm employed, I don't necessarily have my head covered. But at home, I observe the kosher rules, and I attend synagogue and wear tefillin, and I declare myself Orthodox, so the sort of the Sabbath and kashrut are, the base.
Here's a rather personal question, but how much of what you do in terms of being modern Orthodox is really just culturally instilled in you and almost genetically by your parents versus really believing, and how deeply do you believe in Hashem?
I would say I deeply believe in Hashem, but on the other time, just to the beginning of your question, the idea, I was born into an Orthodox Jewish home, so I was not the iconoclast, let's say, that Abraham was. A recent book I read in the last year or two defines Abraham as having been an Amorite, one of the tribes of Canaan, of Canaan, historically. He made a major leap because he went from the religion or the beliefs of his family and came up with this idea of monotheism, okay? That's a major leap. Most people are not going to make that kind of voyage during their lives. As a matter of fact, I'm working on short stories, which is the genre of my book. My book is a collection of 62 short stories and essays.
And the book, by the way, let's remind people, it's called Timeless Travels.
And it refers to actually, travels that I've undertaken during my life, my travel experiences, as well as the travel going from young to old, child Harold, child is the father of the man. There's a lot of poetic underlining to the stories.
Did you start this almost as a blog and then compile them, or you were just writing for yourself, or at what point did you think,
I started writing about 5 years ago, actually, and I had 5 or 6 of these stories in my they were going nowhere. But I was the kind of guy who tells, great stories at family parties and get-togethers. The raconteur, the volunteer for the shul play or, the dinner video. So given that, I evolved as a result. Actually, I was watching my grandson playing in a Little League game. He's a pretty good pitcher. And I befriended a newspaper publisher who had a son on the team. He loved my humor, and he asked me to write a sample column for the local periodical. And that turned into more than 30 stories over a 2-year period. That became the core of the book.
That's wonderful. And by the way, are you still writing for that periodical?
Yeah, I was about, when I gave you that indication of the evolution or the travels, that religious travels a person might take during their lifetime or the journey, I recently had published the story of one of my cousins who was a lieutenant, junior grade in the 1950s in the U.S. Navy. And I found online the cruise book. This was on the USS destroyer, the Newman K. Perry, a ship the World War II, I believe, in Korea, had been commissioned. And here he was, and there were pictures of this gentleman who married one of my cousins back in the 60s. What was interesting about him was he was literally, a Sutton Place, Fifth Avenue, non-Orthodox Jew. He somehow got under the influence of a group of local rabbis, and he ended up making the evolution where he became a chassid. Now, this was a guy who looked like Gary Cooper, or Cary Grant. And what I did is I juxtaposed a picture of him from the Navy tour book, right?
Yeah.
Along with him at the circumcision of my oldest son. That was about 20 years later after the cruise. And intriguingly, put the two pictures together, and I entitled this The Amazing Story. His name was Henry Litchfield, From Sutton Place to Satmar, which are the very ultra-Orthodox.
Yeah.
That's a story that's going to be in the new collection.
So let's talk about the book, though, that you've already done, because the first part of it is very specific, very Israel story and travelogue specific. And let's take you back to even when that first time out of high school, when you went in 1967, you spent a couple of weeks. Most people would be like, oh, once-in-a-lifetime thing, maybe I'll go back in 10, 20, 30 years. But no, what happened? You kept going back and back and back to Israel.
I kept going back and back. I mean, my experiences, it was fashionable, let's put it this way, in my circle, to spend your junior year abroad. And once the 6-day war came, it gave a spark of development to Israel. And I climbed on board and experienced, it was, you had a chance to be visiting a frontier. It became a frontier.
But you went to college there.
I spent my junior year there. In 69, 70, I was at Columbia College in Manhattan. I reversed a lot of patterns that people had. You go to school further and further away from where you were born and brought up.
Yeah.
When I went to college, it was 2 or 3 bus stops up Broadway from where I grew up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. But for my junior year, I escaped to Israel for 12 months, and it was a fascinating experience, giving me lots of material for stories, and the volume that's out now as well as the other one I'm working on now.
Well, whether it's in one of the books or not, let me ask because we love anecdotes on this show. We love stories, whether they're scary or funny or happy or something. So what, for example, was the funniest or one of the funniest anecdotes that ever happened to you in Eretz Yisrael?
More ironic humor than laugh out loud humor.
Okay.
But in the story that I call High Gear, Low Gear, No Gear, the story of a 19-year-old who, without telling his parents, decides he wants to take lessons to qualify for a license, an Israeli license, as a motor scooter driver, a Vespa driver. This happened to me, and of course, like a naive 19-year-old, I walk into the school there in Jerusalem, the middle of downtown Jerusalem, and I asked them approximately how many lessons do you think it'll take to get my license, to get proficient enough. And without missing a beat, the Israeli schoolmaster there says, no one passes the first time. So right away, that little ironical culturally, I said, well, why don't you just give me enough lessons so based on my skill level, I can pass. That thought never seemed to cross their mind. Of course, when I discovered that the clerk at the licensing office was a cousin of the people who ran the school, that's an education.
But what was it to them, whether you passed or not, or everybody failed the first time. They wanted people to take more lessons, but they could just give people more lessons anyway. I don't get it.
That's what I assumed. No, you would think that they would get there, but if you build into the system that you're not passing the first time, I mean, also humorous was the day of the test. 19 or 20 unlicensed scooter applicants, such as myself, drive up in the center of town, and we await a Marlon Brando-like figure from the Wild Ones. He comes in with his reflective glasses. We have one teacher, and he tells us that the test consists of driving through. It would be like driving through, Times Square without a license. Follow the leader to the train station on the outskirts of Jerusalem, and then they're going to send you through wheelies and various maneuvers, and then find your way back, if you have any sense of direction, to where we started. Well, I managed to survive. Obviously, I'm talking to you now, 40 years later. But it was an experience. And, of course, when you got the result, it was failed, needs more practice. Now,
of course.
Okay.
Of course. Now, let me ask also, since you, again, were in Israel for so long a period and so many different times, do you ever have a scary experience or a terror experience kind of a thing?
Well, in 67, I wandered off wearing my sunglasses at sunset, right?
Yeah.
On a tour of the Dead Sea with a very well-known touring company called Egged Bus Tours, right? Their drivers ran the city buses, but also did tours, and it was a major industry post-67. So as the sun was setting there in the Dead Sea, out in the wilderness of Judea, I decided I wanted to go away from the group and start climbing some hills in that area overlooking the Dead Sea to get a different vista.
So you break away from the tour group. It's already sunset. It's dark.
I maybe went 500,000 feet away, not further than that.
All right.
As I'm going there, I'm apprehended by Israeli border guards.
Yeah.
Can't make out. And of course, this is May of the Prime Minister of England might not like this, but they heard me speak and they said in Hebrew, which I understand very well, they said, he's a Brittany. Yeah, he's British. They thought I was spying for the Jordanians. I have no idea, but they put me in their truck and I was interrogated. I'm sure I was very frightened at the time. So
did they let you go that night, or did they keep you over, or what?
They let me go once I don't know if I produced the passport or some document, but I said he's not a terrorist, infiltrator, because that was a border area, and they were, they might have been trigger happy. So I'm glad they didn't. Can I interject just with what you asked me for a humorous experience?
Oh, please, yes.
And this is something I recount in my lecture. In Israel, again, starting in 67, I would occasionally take out girls on a date. And I wanted to get a restaurant that was more American style. And in the lobby of the King David Hotel, a very famous hotel in Jerusalem, they had a dairy restaurant, like, the ones that, the major urban Jewish restaurants. I could only do this sparingly because I was obviously on the student's budget. But I remember one time, because this was in the center of the capital, who do I see sitting at the table next to me? And this is a true story. Golda Meir, the prime minister, Abba Eban, the foreign minister, and Moshe Dayan with his eye patch, the general.
Good God, yeah.
A few bodyguards hanging around for good measure. It's at the table right next to me. Now, at one point, since I was eavesdropping, Abba Eban tried to take the last piece of cake on the table, and Dayan pulled it away before he could get it. This is a fantastic sight. Golda finally, she settles it. She takes the cake, cuts it in half, and makes a Solomonic solution. Okay.
Yeah.
Rabbi Solomon would have done. She cuts it in half. Now, here, the thing that struck me was these three people, famous historical figures, right, must have been meeting in Jerusalem about Israel's urgent security and military issues, right? And the meal ends with a battle over cake.
Well, essentially everything is a battle over cake, if you think about it metaphorically. And notice that Golda could have cut it into thirds, but
No question. And the UN still would have been upset for the division.
Well, that is such a. Nowadays you would have walked over, you would have asked the guards to take a selfie, but I assume you didn't get a picture or any.
No, in those days you had it was rotary phone. So
But more importantly, you were on a date. How did the date go? Did you get anything from the girl?
1968 was a good year in Israel. We'll put it that way. Number 68.
Oh yeah, that's the book I want to read by Joseph Rotenberg.
Yeah.
Getting laid in Israel back in the 1960s.
Happily married to my lovely wife Barbara of 46 years.
Oh, mit Mazel. How'd you meet her?
Oh, when I came back from my junior year in Israel, I was feeling, like big man on campus, right? My senior year is approaching. So before school started, I went to the religious center. It's called Earl Hall off of Broadway and 119th Street. And I'm sitting, it's a rainy day, as I recall. In walked two young ladies who I didn't recognize. This is because my wife had her freshman year while I was in Israel. So now she was a sophomore at Barnard, across the street, Barnard College. I saw this young lady with long blonde hair and blue eyes, and I actually asked her I made a signal for her to come over. She did, which was a good sign. And I asked her about the other girl she was with. So much for being gallant or not being gallant.
Yeah, boy, you got moves. You go off hill climbing at sundown away from the thing. You're interested in a girl and you ask about her friend. So when you make it to the age you are.
Within a month, I was smitten. It turned out she was brighter than I was and still is. I was a decent student, but she was sort of the Wayne Gretzky of students. We call her in our family. In other words, she highly skilled, but also her work, no one outworked her. On dates, I would have to sit there doing the crossword puzzle from the New York Post while she was doing her homework, for schoolwork.
Wow. Well, besides marrying you and giving you wonderful children, what did she do?
She works in education. She's an administrator at a school with 700 to 800 students here in northern New Jersey.
And you, by the way, we should tell people that for a while you were a tax attorney. Now you run a financial firm?
No, I don't run a financial firm. I mean, all I'm allowed to say by my employer is that I work in the financial service industry, but I make a living.
Make a better living than a rabbi does, I'll tell you that for sure.
I had a choice to become a rabbi, and many of my friends got smicha. That's more characteristic, I would say, as a modern Orthodox, rather than spending the entire day learning, which is more to the right of...
Oh, I see, yeah.
You want a historical piece, a real headline, and I should give it to you.
I'll give it to you.
I coached Jared Kushner in high school in hockey.
All right, now this is hilarious for two reasons. First of all, if you see, with all due respect, this man on the cover, the inside cover of his book, Timeless Travels, when you're a decently handsome middle-aged person, but no one would think of you in terms of hockey, playing, coaching, a tax attorney, yes, financial person, sure, but the idea that you have coached hockey teams, it's with all due respect, rather amusing. But
and I have to tell you, you think it's amusing, but the truth is my son Yoni, my middle son, won a UN as an Orthodox Jewish kid, which meant he didn't play from Friday night, until Saturday when the 3 stars came out. He traveled with teams at the highest levels when he was a squirt, 10 or 11, and they won the U.S. District Championship for the Mid-Atlantic region, with him as one of the goaltenders on the team.
Jews in sports, my goodness, in hockey yet.
And you know what? To show the genes that, and I have to give credit to my daughter-in-law, my grandson, who I mentioned the baseball game where he's a star pitcher, plays ice hockey, floor hockey, and just wins championships as a goaltender. I'll tell you one thing. I was a goalie a little bit in college, and both of my son and my grandson are adept at stopping the puck or the ball.
My head was always adept. Whenever we had played hockey in gym, it was like, oh, there's a puck coming. Let me use my head. That was the only way I could ever stop a puck. It was.
Let's put it this way: they have ice water in their veins. If a goal was scored on me, I was usually pretty upset about it.
Wow! But back to what you mentioned also is that years ago you coached a team that Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of a a certain president of the United States.
Yeah.
So was he a good guy? Was he nice?
He's an honorable fellow to my knowledge, okay?
Yeah.
But I have to point out that when my son was in the Nets, this is for his high school team, the Frisch School in Paramus, New Jersey, give them a plug. When that occurred, someone centered the ball, in this case it was ball hockey, the ball off of Jared's rear past my son in the net for a self-goal. Still angry about it.
Still angry. You should write to Jared.
Actionable. That's actionable. And nothing else that he's done to me is in it. Look, we live in a political world. That's a whole different interview, but I have some strong opinions about the uncivil war that's going on right now.
Well, yeah, but let's talk a little bit about politics without getting too angry or deep.
No, I'm just saying it's fascinating when you go back and forth from Fox News to CNN, and it's like a New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers contest.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, I mean, you got one channel that's completely devoted to all the so-called, or maybe real scandals that are going on with the lawyer and the Dacono and this, and then you flip and it's just about border and that we're being overrun with immigrants. That is, it's like two different worlds going on.
And you know, I mean, this is just with a nod to my Gentile friends, he was without sin, right?
Well, there you go. Yes.
I made this point earlier in some of my writing that you could take the model with the most peachy complexion on the cover of Vogue, and if you looked at her skin under an electron microscope, it looks like the Grand Canyon, the pores, right? It's a question of how close you look. It's all a matter of perspective. Frankly, I should write a story called Perspective, the most important word in language, not just in the English language.
And I always say, he who is without shin does not play dreidel with me. Joke. A little postcard joke.
Avoid the shins in my dreidel playing out. That would be good.
But for a little bit of Israeli politics, what I'd like to know from you is, having been there so many times, is how do the Jews over there, the Israelis, feel about Jerusalem and the Palestinian question? Because I'm pretty right-wing Zionist militant myself.
I would consider myself more to the right than center-right. But I just have an issue. I believe biblically in the notion of the description that the Arab, the Palestinians, or whatever they choose to call themselves, I'm not into self-definition, failed to recognize who their friends are and who their enemies are. And maybe it's through the fact that as a group they were never denazified, because in the 1920s and 30s, remember, nationalism was not a dirty word. Right. After Versailles, everybody wanted to have their own nation state, fine. But the marriage between the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem and Adolf Hitler, who was one of his buddies, you know, he had an open ticket to the Berchtesgaden, they never were denazified. So they basically are, the papers they're reading and the books that they educate their kids with is right after the Deutsche Beobachter, the Julius Streicher, the worst anti-Semitism, the worst canards, and they're coming to the modern Israeli, the modern Jew, even the modern American Jew. They have no concept. They have no concept of who they're dealing with. That's the problem. It's a reality check. Reality check. Do you know that, in my view, and there's a story about Gaza, right, in 1967, because I visited Gaza right after the war. And guess what? The Israelis were greeted as liberators. And for what reason? The hatred that the Palestinians had, the Gazans had, for their Egyptian overlords, fellow Arabs, fellow Muslims, was so intense that the Israelis, there was a moment where politically Israel could have done a lot of different things to give autonomy to that section. They didn't do it. So let me just summarize.
Sure.
I believe that if the Arabs ever awoke one day, Gaza City, Rafiah, all the cities, Khan Yunis, this could become the Riviera of the Arab world.
If they just stop killing.
With the help of the Israelis.
Yeah.
And with the open partnership with the Israelis. That's the potential. If you say, well, how good could it get? Right now they live in terrible condition.
Well, yeah, but would you...
Out of their own, they have choices.
Would you go for an international city of Jerusalem? Should it stay in Jewish control? Could it ever be split?
I mean, yeah, here's the question. If it in fact recognized and allowed for the rights of everyone, I could consider that. But the question is, it's like, do you want to, John Wayne and the Coloradans will relate to this.
Yeah.
Did you ever see him walk into the saloon where all the desperados are hanging out, right? Or hiding behind a curtain, in the upper rooms? When he exits, does he holster his gun and walk directly out through the saloon doors?
No, he kind of keeps an eye out for everything behind him, no?
Right. He'll feel behind, he'll look, check it out, and exit backwards through the saloon doors with his gun unholstered, with his gun pointing in the direction of the desperados. That's an Israel situation. It would be nice to think they could holster the gun, turn their back on these people, but
it ain't gonna happen. Let me ask you, before we let you go, and I want to remind people that we've been talking with Joseph Rotenberg, author of Timeless Travels, Tales of Mystery, Intrigue, Humor, and Enchantment. It's published by Geffen Books, and you can get it, of course, on Amazon and all the usual places you can get books. Do you have a website? Can people go to a place where they find out more about you?
Actually called Timeless. It's www.timelesstravelsbook. One word. Timelesstravelsbook.com.
Timelesstravelsbook.com, and people can find out more about the book there. They can order it there. It's we've missed Hanukkah in terms of gift-giving ideas, but so many goyim and evangelicals are into Israel. They love Israel. They want to learn more about the history. They want to learn more about
the book.
Yeah.
And you know what it is? Because it's a series of shorter works, it's the kind of thing where you don't need a lot of time. You can have it by your bedside. You can read and chuckle and learn things and learn about characters. Being a rabbi, Rabbi Solomon, you can relate to a story called Torah and Teepees.
Torah and what?
Torah and Teepees.
Oh, teepees. Ooh. Tell me, because I thought you meant teepee like toilet paper, where this is a good toilet book because you can pick it up 2.5 minutes later, you do your business, boom, you put it down for another story. But no, you mean teepee like woo-woo Indian teepee.
No, yes, correct. This is a story about a Polish rabbi who moves out west, breaks away from his roots somewhat, and becomes a peddler in the Oklahoma Panhandle and is captured by Comanches, by an actual chief.
Whoa!
There's 3 days of their discussing religion together. The rabbi says, look, I don't understand this idea of one God, however. I'm very glad that your Jewish God created the buffalo. That's what he says in the story.
Very cute. That's very cute. Stories like that in Timeless.
Picked up by a San Diego Western Historical Society. They thought it was a true story. Now, it's partly true, but I used some poetic license in it. And I'm telling you, you'll learn about America, you'll learn about yourself, and you don't have to be like the Jewish rye bread. You don't have to be Jewish to enjoy Timeless Travels.
Well, you don't have to be Jewish to enjoy talking with Joseph Rotenberg here in the Daverhood. Last question for you before we're going. It's going to be a big one. It's a heavy one. What, in all your travels, like it could be Israel or anywhere else, what is the most profound thing that's happened to you? Something that shook you emotionally in a good or scary or whatever way?
It's quite a personal question because it probably relates to the kinds of things that affect everybody. The loss of a loved one. Those are the most profound things that affect me. I try to, being a dad of 5 children and now, thank God, 11 grandchildren, I try to keep a stiff upper lip. Maybe going back to the Middle East, that the cousins, right, the Arabs and the Jews have not reached an accommodation during my lifetime, or a better accommodation. That's been the greatest disappointment.
And will you go back to Israel? Do you see yourself going there again, once or twice or
Yes. Well, I remember my parents were buried in Israel, and accordingly, I like to make an annual visit to their graves. It's not religiously required, but so that keeps me going back. Yes, I plan to try to do an annual. Of course, if Wall Street continues, it can have an effect on people's plans. I'm aware of that. I represent a lot of lovely people.
Might have to go back to doing some tax returns just to make a little spare buck these days, but no.
Well, yeah, but officially I can announce to everybody in Colorado I am retired from the practice of law. So say that.
Well, here's the deal. Hopefully you make.
But you never. Okay, look, you go to law school.
Yeah.
I try to see the humorous side of life rather than the negative. To this point, I'm a very lucky guy. I admit it.
All have I. This is wonderful. I mean, I feel in some ways lucky too, but I'm miserable all the time. That's just me. And the thing is, I'm not miserable reading your book and talking to Joseph Rotenberg. Hopefully you'll sell 1,000 copies so that you can take 12 more trips to Israel. Remember to go to timelesstravelsbook.com to buy the book, to find out more about it, and to enjoy your time with Joseph Rotenberg as we have done here in the Daverhood. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for your writing and for your time and for your joy. Shalom to you.
Shalom to you, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Shabbat shalom.
And Shabbat Shalom to you, Joseph Rotenberg, and to all of you here in the Daverhood on this Saturday, December 22nd, day after the equinox, for our 678th episode of Dave's Gone By. Let me just get the screen back where I want it. Am I going to be leaning back or moving forward? That's better. So I can just pull that there. There we go. Anyway, I'm Dave Lefkowitz, and it is just after 11 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Time, here in Greeley, Colorado, which is where we've been doing this show for, oh my gosh, about 8 or 9 years now. As I say, it's our 678th episode. We've been calling it Timely Travels in honor of Joe Rotenberg and his book, Timeless Travels. We thank him so much for being with us in the Daverhood on the show. We've got more stuff, by the way, to do on this Facebookio podcast of the stream. For example, what we have? We have My Sick Mind coming up with a few horrible, horrible jokes about a dead person. We also have, I have no idea. Joyce, my wife, earlier in the program, went through this dictionary for our Dave's Big Dictionary segment to, at random, find the word thumb through, and now I've got to talk in a little while about that word. And the word she chose was marigold. Marigold. Anyway, I'm still thinking. I'll try and come up with something. I have no idea what. So that's coming up as well. Our Saturday Segue of Songs in the News also. And StoryTime. Oh, yes, indeed. In fact, StoryTime is up right now.
Tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story, remember what you said. You promised me, you said you would, you gotta give in, so I'll be good. Tell me a story, then I'll go to
bed. Yes, we're telling stories on Dave's Gone By. We've been doing this for a while now, and it was just almost accidental the way that this segment began, which was we had brought our car in to have some stuff done on it. I think we're getting new brake pads on. And at the station, they had a couple of different books and magazines and newspapers, the usual car stuff, but also children's books. And among them was Hansel and the Cow, I think, A Cow for Hansel, which was this youngish children's book all about this farm boy who just suffers terrible setbacks and just trying to get a cow for his family, which after week after week after week, he finally does. And we just had a great time going through the book. And so then we started doing it with others, a lot shorter books most of the time, including one about a really weird chicken. We did the Bert and Ernie book a couple of weeks ago. That was fun. The Large Color Atlas of Intestinal Parasites. We had a blast doing that one. Bill Cosby's Lil Bill book. We've done a bunch of these in recent times. And of course, Vegetable Friends. Here's another potato sighting. So what have we been doing? Speaking of potatoes, oh boy, that's why we brought, even though we're kind of denuded in our set here today, but we did bring a potato back, because how could we not when we're reading the thrilling, enthralling conclusion of Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato by Tommy DePaula, an Irish folktale. Stan's giving us More happy Potato sighting thumbs up. Thank you, Stan. And hearts, of course, for Potato. And Potato is really entranced by this book. So we're going to go through it now. We, as we told you last week, the protagonist of this particular drama, his name is Jamie O'Rourke, and he's just a lazy sod, as they would say. A lazy so-and-so, doesn't want to get out of bed, help his wife work and plant and garden and hoe. Well, she goes out at night and hoes, but that's very different. So what happens is she hurt her back very badly, and now she can't work. And oh my goodness, Jamie O'Rourke doesn't know what to do because he hasn't helped at all, and he doesn't want to go out planting. He doesn't know how to do it. So what happens? He goes walking, and he notices a leprechaun. Let's just show that there. So there he is. This one kind of looks a little like Van Morrison back in the day. Leprechaun sitting there, and Leprechaun says, "Oh no, don't capture me! Don't take me part of my gold, my rainbow. I'll give you a wish instead." And Jamie says, "What should I wish for?" And the Leprechaun says, "How about a potato seed?" Because, why not? So he does. The Leprechaun gives him a potato seed to plant one giant, enormous potato that would feed the family and be fine for the farm. So he comes home, he's got the seed. His wife is, of course, enraged at him, sort of a Jack and the Beanstalk situation. And he wakes up in the morning after planting the thing, and there it is. That's the enormous, huge, massive tater. And there's this little dog that's watching it too, that Jamie O'Rourke has in his garden. What could possibly happen next? And the problem also is that it's so huge, it's not like he could harvest it. He couldn't dig it up out of the ground. And his neighbors start talking about it and seeing it and pointing and gathering around to see what's going on. Well, he's going to make the most of it. He's kind of like the con artist that we have in the White House. He says, something weird and strange and terrible has happened. If I can't blame anybody else, let me make it work for me. So here's Jamie O'Rourke talking about his enormous potato. "Where did it come from?" the townspeople asked. Jamie told them about the lucky night he caught the leprechaun and how smart he had been. "Why, anyone could have gotten a pot of gold," he bragged. But by the way, do not, I'm tired, it's a Saturday morning, do not judge me by my accent. "But the biggest pretty in the world, well, that took some doing." Pretty is their word for potato. "However did you outsmart a leprechaun?" they all asked at once. Jamie hesitated and scratched his head. "We'll help you dig up your pretty, Jamie, if you'll tell us how you did it." And they grabbed shovels and hoes, and they all started to dig. Okay? They dug and they pushed and they shoved until the potato flew up out of its hole. Whoop! It rolled down the hill. Now I got vertigo. Oh, God! Faster and faster, until it reached the bottom, where it bounced up high and came to a stop, wedged between the stone walls on either side of the road. What to do now? Damon sort of looks like a parish priest, doesn't he? Anyway, there's the giant potato. There's the wall. I've had dreams like this, ladies and gentlemen, possibly representing something else. "That pretty is so big that no cart, nothing can get by it," the constable complained to Father O'Malley. "How's a body to get in or out of the village?" "What shall we do?" the villagers wailed. Then they all looked at Jamie and said, "It's your pretty. You'll have to move it out of the way." "Well," Eileen spoke up, "there's more than enough pretty for everyone. Why don't you all take some?" Now, Eileen is, I believe, the wife who was sick in bed. I don't know how she got out of bed now. She's probably going to get pneumonia and die soon. But let's see. Oh, they start. And this is a very, I'm going to give Potato here a trigger warning about this next passage in the book. But there's going to be some violence. It's going to be fairly graphic. And I just want you to brace yourself. Can you deal with it? Do you need to leave the room? No, I'm okay. Show me. All right. Okay. Was it? Oh, yeah. Therapy. Well, see, this is what Potato's reacting to. It's a rather graphic image here of them slicing and dicing and cutting and peeling the giant potato so that everyone can have a bit of it. So the villagers sawed and chopped and carted off huge pieces of potato while Jamie sat on the stone wall and watched. So here they are, they're all helping each other. They're just going through sort of, if I had a hammer, I'd hammer at a potato in the morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what happens next. All winter long, everyone had potato to eat and eat and eat until no one wanted to see or hear of potato again. I guess this is post-famine years, but yeah, see it's a before-after effect. First they're really happy, oh boy, potato, and then not so happy, oh crap, not potato again. No, and notice they're doing, I'm sorry about this, potato, you okay? No, they're eating them in all different sorts of ways. They've got mashed here, there's some boiled ones, obviously. I think some of these are baked. Watch what will occur. In the spring, Jamie said, I saved a potato eye for a seed, and it's just about time to plant it. Oh no, the villagers all cried. If you promise not to plant it, Jamie, we'll promise before St. Patrick and all the saints to see that you and Eileen always have plenty to cook and eat. We don't want another giant party around here. Jamie smiled and agreed. What a perfect life for a lazy man. I can't believe the book is going to end this way. I cannot. Well, it's those old Grimm-style folk tales and things. They didn't have to be politically correct. Like the lazy person could actually get away with it. Let's see, because we're at like almost the last page. Oh no, oh no. And so you see, darling Eileen, Jamie told her, I wasn't such a fool with that leprechaun at all. And Eileen had to admit that Jamie O'Rourke was right. And this, I swear to God, this is it. This is, and then of course the leprechaun gets his. He's very happy, and he's an evil-looking guy. Swear to God, I wouldn't want to run into him, even if he had all that pot of gold there. But he still got the buckle on his shoes, and for some reason he wears a pair of skis through his jacket. I have no idea what that's supposed to represent. But anywho, that, my friends, was Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato, an Irish folktale by Tommy de Paula, available from Paper Star Books, which is a Penguin Putnam book imprint going all the way back. It's not that old, actually. I think it's 2000 or something. Or no, 1992. 1992. Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato, or as Stan says, tuber. Yes, indeed. We're having a tuberific time here in the Daverhood for Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, our 678th episode of the program, live on this Saturday, December 22nd of the annum 2018. We want to thank again the folks who've been on the program. For example, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, who's joined us for the first part of the show. And of course, Joseph Rotenberg. You're going to want to get his book, Timeless Travels, all about his timeless and timely travels to Jerusalem and Israel and the Middle East and whole bunches of other places, including various parts of New Jersey. So Joseph is now considered a friend of the Daverhood. That means he's on the show, and we keep tabs on him. We let you know how he's doing in the months and years ahead, because we consider those people friends or family. And that's exactly what we do in this segment called Friends of the Daverhood. So let's tell you what's happening with our neighborhood friends. Let me just lower that music a little bit more. That's fine. So we're going to let you know what our friends are up to. For example, off Broadway, you can see Waiting for Godot, the Samuel Beckett play in Yiddish, which is acted, or among the people in the cast, is our friend David Mandelbaum. He is the artistic director of New Yiddish Rep. He's also an actor in that show, and it's going to be playing at the theater at the 14th Street Y through the end of January. For more information, newyiddishrep.org. Through the end of this month, so only a couple more days to catch Christmas in Hell, a musical at the York Theatre, which features set design by our friend, New York's artistic director, Jim Morgan. Also, Hadestown, a show that is coming to Broadway in the spring or possibly next season, but it's definitely Broadway bound. Hadestown features Andre de Shields, and you can see that right now in London through January 26th before it picks up and moves. Junie B. Jones, the musical, that closed already, I'm sorry. I should have taken those out. But not this one. You still have just a couple more days to catch our friend, actress LaShans. She is one of the Donna Summerses in Summer, the Donna Summer musical, on Broadway at the L'Enfantine Theater. That is now through December 30th only. It's still in an open run on Broadway. It's Beautiful, the Carole King musical with book by Douglas McGrath. That is at the Sondheim Theater. Also let you know that School of Rock has lyrics by Glenn Slater. That is only running now another month. It's going to be closing January 20th. It's a very fun show. School of Rock on Broadway at the Winter Garden Theater. They've already got more than 1,000 performances under their belt. Hey, we mentioned Waiting for Godot in Yiddish. How about Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish? This huge hit off-Broadway show that has been playing downtown for the National Yiddish Theater. They're going to finish up that run at the end of January and then move it in February to off-Broadway's Stage 42. And of course, the musical director for this production is Zalman Mlotek, our friend, and the lyricist is the still alive and well Sheldon Harnick, lyricist for Fiddler on the Roof and our friend of the Daverhood. Now for hopefully a very long time to come, a couple of musicals on Broadway. The Band's Visit, which has a score by David Yazbek. Come From Away, we mentioned that before, by Irene Sankoff and David Hine. Hamilton features our friend Daniel Breaker playing Aaron Burr. That is at the Richard Rogers Theater. And no, I still have not seen Hamilton and may never get to. Jim Caruso's Cast Party, Monday nights at Birdland in New York. On Fox TV, watch Leslie Jordan and Vicki Lawrence in The Cool Kids. Evan Seplow is the founder and editor of the New York nightlife website StageBuddy.com. And speaking of websites, my goodness, go to drdemento.com, where you can hear brand new episodes, brand new Dr. Demento shows, as well as archives of shows going back to the 1970s. You think the Dave's Gone By archive is huge, with about 600 and something programs? Demento, he's been on since like 1974, right? Syndicated, and a little before that on San Francisco radio. So yeah, man, go to his website. There's a small fee for the programs, but you know, you can. What a wonderful idea for a holiday gift for the demented person in your life, and giving them a subscription to the Dr. Demento show online. Anyway, speaking of shows you can watch online as well as on regular TV, you've got Charlie Gross and Leslie Hoban Blake co-hosting Two on the Aisle, and Eva Heinemann hosting High Drama, both of them on Manhattan Neighborhood Network Television and streamable on mnn.org. Also want to let you know that in the New York Post, Phil Mushnick writes about how the media covers sports. I've been reading him for years. He's a friend of the Daverhood. Jeannie Lieberman edits theaterscene.com. So if you want another place for theater reviews, that's a really cool website to check out. Want to let you know that Mike Peters, oh my goodness, the guy who founded a couple of those columns in the Grilli Tribune that we then talk about and do on the show as part of Grilli Crimes at All Times. Mike Peters still writes for the Grilli Tribune and collates the 100 Years Ago column in that newspaper. You can read Mary Shen Barnage's theater reviews in Chicago at TotalTheater.com. And finally, of course, Bob Cudmore doing podcasts about upstate New York history at BobCudmore.com. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Oh my goodness, it is 25 after 11, Mountain Time. here in the Daverhood in Greeley, Colorado. Have a bit more to do on this episode of the show. I've got really two or three more things to do before we leave you for this Saturday. One of them is our big one, our Saturday Segue of songs in the news. You don't want to miss that. That's always a lot of fun. And also, I've got to do a Dave's Big Dick segment called, the word that my wife chose is marigold. I've got to talk for a couple of minutes about the word marigold. I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do. I'll do something. I promise. It's a promise that I make to myself and have been ever since I started this crazy segment. Sometimes I've got to vet my ideas before I bring them to life, But before all of that, sometimes we get a little off color, a little tasteless on the program. For those of you who heard our Limerick before, we're going to do that again. And it's this kind of thing where we're not always politically correct on the show. I can't be. I don't want to be. Part of the freedom of doing Dave's Gone By, especially away from a quote-unquote commercial radio station or something on the FM or AM band, is being able to get on here, use language that I want to do, tell jokes that would be unacceptable in other situations. But for me, comedy's comedy. If it works, or if it's meant to work, you don't laugh, but we're hoping you'll laugh, can get away with a lot. So with that in mind, I created a segment years ago called My Sick Mind, which has to do with just jokes I can't stop, jokes that I should. If I were a decent, honorable human being, I would get a lobotomy from that part of my head that would not make the sick kind of jokes that everyone from Gilbert Gottfried or Sarah Silverman, or going back probably thousands of years, that people would make over tragedy and calamity and sadness and loss. But me, the brain's there, the jokes go in, and until I'm completely demented and senile, they're probably still going to. And me being the external creative person that I am, I've got to get them out, or else they go in and fester and cause all sorts of horrible things inside me. And so this is all by way of introducing our segment of My Sick Mind as a farewell tribute to some fairly famous actress and director that we lost this week, Penny Marshall. I warn you, you can turn the computers off now, leave the room, come back in about 2 minutes. Until then, it's My Sick Mind.
My sick, my sick, my sick, my sick, my sick. Well, talk about bad taste. My sick, my sick, my sick, my sick, my sick. You sick little monkey.
Yeah, sick little monkey indeed. So yes, of course, we all loved Penny Marshall. We enjoyed Laverne and Shirley. She was wonderful in The Odd Couple. I mean, Penny Marshall, she went away. She's died this past week. And we feel really, really bad about it, but not so bad that it's going to stop me from making these jokes. And if you want to say it's too soon or too early, remember, she's Jewish. She died a few days ago. That means they would have buried her in a day or two, as to Jewish custom. So she's in the ground. At least I can say these things. For example, on My Sick Mind, what was Penny Marshall's hearse doing last week? Riding in a car with boys. So that's the title of one of her movies. What will Penny Marshall's mornings have no more of? Awakenings. This one is my favorite, folks. Where will Shirley keep her roommate's ashes? La urn. I love that. That was the first one that occurred to me. And that was the one that I had to, I'm doing this whole segment just to tell that one joke, but I love it. Anyway, why was last week bad luck for the Marshall family? Well, they found an upside down penny. Why is Penny Marshall's casket like her best known movie? Well, they're both big. Oh my goodness. What did Penny Marshall give the American Cancer Society? a lung of their own. I know, that was terrible. I admit that. That's awful. What do you call the spark that starts Penny Marshall's cremation? Jumping Jack Flash. And finally, what does the L stand for on Penny Marshall's sweater? Let me in, God! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that, and not a moment too soon, that is My Sick Mind for Saturday, December 22nd, 2018. Oh, yes, indeed. Okay, now we get back to the normal portion of the program that it's okay for everyone to watch, and for that portion that, as I said, I started months and months ago on this idea of, well, I pride myself these days on being fairly extemporaneous on the radio. I can get in front of a microphone and talk and keep talking, and especially, my God, if I have somebody to talk to or to interview, I can just go on for days. So, and that's very different, by the way. If you go back and listen at Dave's Gone By to the early years of this program, I had so much that was scripted. I mean, even the basic banter or talk about the show, as well as all the commercials, all the segments, of course, were everything except the interviews was essentially scripted down to the word and then actually timed so I could get the show in under 57 minutes. That, of course, has gone out the window now that our show's 3.5 hours long. And I just get up here and boom, I can talk without any problem at all. And so as part of that, and to sort of test myself, I began a new segment called Dave's Big Dictionary, and said, you know what, let's try this. I've had 54 years on this earth. I haven't lived a whole lot in the way some other people have of traveling all over the world and getting into amazing scrapes and having these incredible encounters with everyone. I've led a fairly sheltered life, but I have also had experiences and have read a lot and have a working mind and seen tons of shows. So why not dip into the dictionary, find any word, and I'll be so witty and so urbane that I can talk about it for a few minutes, about any word that you choose, that you go into the dictionary and choose. And that's been working pretty well for a bunch of words that I have done over the past couple of months. For example, we've had words like bluefish, I remember that one, erythrocyte, fudge, Nickelodeon, Roundup, spleen, virgin, worrisome, pranks, reef. I mean, just word after word after word. I managed. Some were a lot easier than others, but I managed. Today, I might actually come a cropper for Dave's Big Dictionary. Extra, tell all about it. It's Dave's Big Dictionary. Okay, so Dave's Big Dictionary, my wife earlier in the program dipped at random into this book to find a word for me to just blather about for just a couple of minutes. The word, now she could have gotten marijuana, which, yeah, hell, I've never even tried it, but I can certainly talk for a long time about marijuana, no problem. And the word before it, mariachi. Oh, I could totally tell a story about mariachi, I really could. But no, she got the one in between. Marigold, the flower, any of a genus of tropical American herbs relating to the daisies that are grown for their showy, usually yellow, orange, or maroon flower heads. They're very pretty. You see them all over the place. Marigolds. What the hell? What can I possibly say about them? As I said, there's the best album by Rufus Wainwright has a song called Marigold on it, or he repeats the word several times. It's a really good album. It's called Poses. I recommend it highly. because especially the first couple of songs are just great, but it's good all the way through. Okay, that's down, and there's nothing really else to say about that. I did a little Googling. I can't say that's cheating, but I did a little searching for Marigold, and it reminded me that I did see part of the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel again when it was on. I think I was flying home on a plane, actually, and that was one of the offerings that you could get while sitting on JetBlue. I guess I watched about 20 minutes or a half hour of Best Exotic Marigold Hotel again, just because I think Wes Anderson is one of our best, most interesting and fun to watch directors, because you can within 30 seconds of watching, you can tell a Wes Anderson film. There is a certain look, there's a certain angle of the camera, there's a certain way that he blocks off all the dimensions, all the sides of a scene. I wish Wes Anderson was making movies when I was back at NYU, because it would have been a tremendous influence on the visuals of how you compose a shot. And it's quite wonderful. And sometimes it works great. If you've ever seen The Royal Tenenbaums, it's a wonderful film that I really want to see again. And I enjoyed Marigold Hotel. I didn't love it, but I certainly enjoyed watching it. I didn't like The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, but what I can say about Marigold is you get sucked in. You get sucked into the Wes Anderson world, and you kind of get into this hotel that this old guy owns and is telling about, and the rise of this bellhop into the world of that hotel and the way it looks, and Ralph Fiennes as this very eccentric guy. What else do I have to say about that? I like Wes Anderson. Wow, okay. That's one aspect of Marigold. The cool thing is, I didn't look this up, but a lot of the species of marigold, and you're going to hear some typing and tippy-tapping here, because I'm going to need to open another window in my Chrome to get this word right, but the actual, here it is, weirdly enough, and we can have some fun with this, ladies and gentlemen, the plant species name for marigold, the basic, most typical marigold, is Targetus erecta. The Aztec marigold, the Mexican marigold, Targetus, E-R-E-C-T-A, because, I guess when it's blooming, it stands up straight and then opens out and probably shoots its pollen everywhere. They have some fun, these plant naming people. But the marigold, let's tell you a little bit more about it. Maybe Wiki will give me some ideas of what to talk about. The Aztecs used it for medicinal, ceremonial, and decorative purposes. I don't get this, because in one place I found that marigold, they take the drops of it and they turn that into calendula, which they put in a pill. You see this in health stores, and people take that, but at the same time, marigolds can be slightly toxic to humans. So which is it? Is it good for you? Is it slightly toxic to humans? What else? The main characteristics. Oh, it has peduncles. That's another one of my favorite words. It's got peduncles up to 15 centimeters long. I do not have a peduncle, I have to say. Actually, I hope I do. Anywho, what else? What the hell else can I tell you about a marigold that would be of any sort of interest to any of us? It is, oddly enough, in Mexico, it is the flower of the dead. So I guess on Day of the Dead, they use a whole bunch of marigolds, and the Frida Kahlo-esque visuals that they do have to do with marigolds, the cempasúchil, or the Flor de Muertos, flowers of the dead in Mexico. Okay, that's kind of cool. All right. Anything else? It's been used in medicine. The Cherokees used it as a skin wash. What do other people use it for? Other uses include respiratory diseases and gynecological problems. So, of course, the next time I have problems with my ovaries, I'm going to go reaching for a marigold. And that's all I have to say about that flower. I'm so sorry. There's really nothing. It's marigold. Come up kind of smelling empty here on Dave's Gone By with our Dave's Big Dictionary segment. Here on Saturday, December 22nd, 2018, the Dave's Gone By Facebook podcast of the stream. Well, I hope to make it up to you for suffering through those last 5 minutes. I hope that this next segment will be a lot more fun for you, because we'll be playing some music along with everything else that we're doing. This is called our Saturday Segue of Songs in the News.
Extra, extra, hear all about it. We provide the rhymes, you provide the reasons. It's our Saturday Segue of Songs in the News.
Yes, indeed. So it's a pretty simple construct. I play part of a song. I used to play more of them, but now with rights issues, I can only play 30 seconds. But I play parts of songs, and you have to figure out why I'm playing that song this particular week. What happened in this insane week of news and current events that would make me choose, aha, I'm going to play this. Is it the title of the song? Is it who's singing it? Is it the theme of the song overall? That's your job. My job is just to play it and then give you the answer. Let's begin with a song by the late, great Malvina Reynolds.
Love is something if you give it away, give it away, give it away. Love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. It's just like a magic penny, hold it tight and you won't get any.
Yes, and a bit of Malvina Reynolds there. Now, her best known song that's been covered by everyone from, well, mostly Pete Seeger is best known, but a couple of other people covered Little Boxes, which is this great, incredibly catchy satirical song that she did. But no, that's a song called Magic Penny from Malvina Reynolds. Why would we play that? Well, I kind of gave this one away a little while back when we did our My Sick Mind segment, because, yeah, we're saying farewell in more of a serious way now to Penny Marshall, who passed away at the age of 75 last week from diabetes. She was born in the Bronx. She is, of course, the sister of comedy writer Gary Marshall, and both of their parents were in the entertainment industry, so she just kind of slid right into it, although she did actually tap dance and teach tap dancing at her mother's studio before she started making a career as an actress. And she appeared most memorably on The Odd Couple as Myrna Turner, the secretary, wonderfully funny there. And then she had a cameo, or a guest starring spot on Happy Days with Cindy Williams that was then, of course, spun off into Laverne and Shirley, which really made her world famous. She appeared on that from 1976 through 1983. And then she was like, she, back in the time when not a lot of women were, she got behind the camera. So she directed the Whoopi Goldberg film Jumpin' Jack Flash, which critics didn't like very much, but it made some money at the box office. Wasn't a huge hit, but it actually broke even and then some. So Hollywood said, okay, go make another film. And the next movie she made was quite big, really big. Its name was Big. In 1988, Tom Hanks was in it, well received critically, still shown all the time. It's become one of those perennials. And it was the first feature film by a female American director to make over $100 million at the box office. And it still holds up. And talk about a film that I hope still holds up. Movie that moved me quite a bit when I first saw it, but I haven't seen it since. 1990's Awakenings with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro, Oscar-nominated film. I remember the critics being a little wishy-washy on it and saying that she sort of whitewashed the disease that's in there, because it was based on, was it Oliver Sacks and his thing about people who were stuck in time and then came at least partially getting unstuck thanks to this treatment that they were getting with L-Dopa. And I thought Robin Williams maybe gave the best performance of his career in that movie. Just a lovely, lovely film. I really should see that again. Anyway, Awakenings, Marshall's film in 1990. And then 92, her other big film, A League of Their Own, all about women in baseball. Tom Hanks returning again, Gina Davis in there, Rosie O'Donnell, big hit. And then after that, she really couldn't strike gold again. She did a bunch of other movies like Renaissance Man and The Preacher's Wife and Riding in Cars with Boys. She ended up producing some films, including Bewitched and the boxing drama Cinderella Man that Ron Howard directed. What else can I tell you about her? Well, on the personal side, I didn't even remember this, but we mentioned that she played Marina Turner on The Odd Couple, and her husband was, remember this, Sheldon without the O. That was played by, of all people, Rob Reiner, who of course was her husband at the time. But weirdly enough, Penny Marshall auditioned for the role of Gloria on All in the Family. She didn't get it, of course. That went to Sally Struthers. She did get a regular gig on the first Bob Newhart show. She ended up playing a neighbor on the Mary Tyler Moore show when Mary moved into a high-rise building. And then, rather famously, she and Cynthia Williams had something of a falling out towards their end of their time on Laverne and Shirley. What really happened was Williams was going to have a baby, and the due date was still when she was supposed to be appearing on the show. And they wouldn't kind of let her out of her contract, and she didn't want to be covered up and standing behind desks up to her head on the program. So just, the hell with this. And that kind of left Laverne, Penny Marshall in the lurch. They're reconciled. They've appeared in events together. They reunited. It's fine. Penny Marshall had a child with Rob Reiner that she ended up, excuse me. She had a child before Rob Reiner that she raised herself. Then she and Reiner were married for about a decade. She also dated Art Garfunkel. Who knew? And of course, she gave us a legacy of comedy. I don't know if Laverne and Shirley really holds up that well today, but The Odd Couple sure does. And some of her movies certainly do. And it's probably worth checking out some of the movies that are less known by the late Penny Marshall. We bid her farewell. Well, let's see what else happened in the news this week as we continue our Saturday segue. How about this bit? And we don't play a lot of country music on this show, but let's hear a bit of this one in a cover version.
That's so much more than I can say for me. But I'll give you the roses, and it blooms the linger there. Long could stand another moment. Funny, I don't care.
Some Elvis Costello there covering a song called Good Year for the Roses, a song that has been covered by a lot of people, very popular country song. We heard the Elvis version from his Almost Blue country album. Why do we play that? Sad news. The guy who wrote it passed away last Saturday at the age of 87. And that song, as I said, it has been covered by everyone from Counting Crows to George Jones to Johnny Paycheck. Now, that is not Chestnut's only song. I don't follow country music, so I don't know a lot of these titles, but he also wrote some hits, including Trouble, which was covered by none other than this guy named another Elvis Parsley, something like that. He also did a song called Love of a Rolling Stone that Bonnie Tyler covered. Johnny Cash did his song called Oni, and then Jerry Lee Lewis got a Grammy nomination for the 1968 song Another Place, Another Time, all of them written by the late Jerry Chestnut, who passed away last week. So sad news there. Sorry to have to play that one. And now here's something that is sad, but not, thank God, yet. Hopefully 2 more years tragic. What do I mean by that? Well, let's hear this tune by Townes Van Zandt.
See if I can play this one. Well, won't you lend your lungs to me? Mine are collapsing.
Sorry to stop the song right there. I mean, I just hate that I have to bring songs down so quickly after I first start them. But that's the nature of the beast here. That's the trade-off for being able to have visuals and get all of you guys live watching on Facebook and also post our shows on YouTube as well and not have rights problems. But anyway, we do have, or we have unfortunate reason to play that song by Townes Van Zandt. That was a live version done at the Old Quarter in Houston, Texas. Why would we play that song, which is called Lungs? Lungs. Well, if you haven't heard, RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, 85 years old. She is hanging on for dear life. You know, just a couple of weeks ago, she fell and broke 3 ribs. And then she was working in the hospital. She went back to work, but now she was just in the hospital again because she had 2 malignant nodules, cancer, removed from her lungs on Friday. She ain't gonna be working so quick. She'll be in the hospital for a bit. And, you know, I'm sure she needs to take some time off now. They got the nodes out with no further evidence of disease. I guess the good thing is when you are that old, even malignant cancer travels fairly slowly. So some comorbid conditions will probably affect her before the nodules do. But, you know, and this woman, she has already had colon cancer and pancreatic cancer. Thank goodness she is in a position and is rich enough that she's getting the best quality healthcare. All the rest of us, we'd be on the street bankrupt considering healthcare the way it is. But at least she's getting the care that may just keep her alive for 2 more years before Donald Trump has the ability to appoint her replacement. It's gonna, if she doesn't leave, I'm sure one of the Republicans will bow out and say, hey, bring in a new young Republican and let's control the Supreme Court for the next half a century. But anyway, best wishes for a full recovery as much as possible to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Come on, if you see the white light, Ruth, walk the other way. Go towards the black light. Go towards the light in the hospital room. Go towards the anesthesiologist with bad breath, perhaps. Anywhere but towards the angels and the harps and the clouds. Wait 2 more years for that. I'm being nice. I would ask her to wait 6, but 2 will do. Anyway, that's why we played Townes Van Zandt doing Lungs here on Dave's Gone By on our Saturday segue of songs in the news. And now, we're going to find our next song to play. Why would we be playing this old tune? I have to kind of start also in the middle there, or do I? Yeah, I think I'll start from the beginning. Let's try it from here.
People take what's mine. I can leave them all behind. They can never cross that line when I get to the border. Sawbone standing at the door, waiting till
I hate putting songs like this down. It's so catchy. That is the young voice there of Richard Thompson on the album that he did with Linda Thompson. Actually, this is from a best of collection of Richard and Linda Thompson. But name of that song, come on, you've got to get this one. If you've missed a couple of the other songs in this segment, our Saturday segue of songs in the news, you have to know why we're playing When I Get to the Border. When I Get to the Border, which currently does not have a wall. So for the past 2 weeks, Fox News has been falling all over itself, talking about the immigrants, the caravan, the migrants, the danger, the criminals, drugs, etc. And everybody else is like, immigrants, we've had them forever. And a couple are bad apples, but mostly we deal. And suddenly the wall was going to be the big issue, standing between literally not literal, figurative wall, standing between Republicans and Democrats and getting a budget passed last night, right? Because Donald Trump is saying, I want $5 billion to build this wall on the Mexican border. And of course, was solid. And then he said, you know what? Well, it's a lot of money. we'll talk, let's maybe compromise a little bit, maybe not take that much money, or give me all the money for the wall, more importantly, and I'll give you Democrats infrastructure money, and money for stuff that is also quite important. And then Chuck and Nancy feeling their oats and realizing that the Democrats took control of the House a couple of weeks ago, and that Trump's having some issues all the way around in his administration and with the economy, they're feeling like, hey, we can we can kind of stop him for once, because usually the Democrats have been glorious losers the past 2 years. They make a lot of noise, they cause a lot of problems and obstructions, and ultimately they end up losing the battle. There were 2 Supreme Court nominees that they didn't want to come in, including Brett Kavanaugh. Trump got them in. They railed against the tax cut that Trump instituted several months ago. And they said, oh, it's going to break the economy, it's going to do this and that. And they said, no. Trump got it through. Boom. I mean, everything the Democrats have been trying to do, usually on the right side of the issue, they're having problems with. So now they're standing firm against Trump, who was willing to compromise a bit. And then he went back to his right-wing Tea Party, strong, harsh conservatives, and said, this is the issue you ran on. Don't lie about the wall. You said you'd build the wall, build the wall. They don't say, hey, you said Mexico would pay for the wall. They don't care that if Mexico isn't going to be paying for the wall, that we have to. I love that there's a grassroots campaign for conservative people and Republican and xenophobic people to go fund or kickstart money for a wall. And they're I think, raised about $5 to $10 million, $5 million to put towards this $5 billion. But it's like, thanks so much. It's like the guy passing the hat, and he needs $80,000 for an organ transplant, and so he throws him $1.50. He's like, well, thank you. Why a wall needs to cost $5 billion is still sort of beyond me. I mean, I assume it goes on for many, many miles. And apparently it's not a wall anymore, it's slats, beautiful, pretty slats. And I also remember Trump talking, and I've mentioned this before, early in the day, or early when he was elected, and saying, look, it doesn't have to be an ugly friggin' Berlin wall. We can put solar panels on it and have it run Arizona's energy. Why not? I don't know. I mean, I know why both sides can't compromise, because both sides can't compromise. I don't, unlike a lot of people on the left, a lot of my friends and a lot of my followers on Facebook, I'm not so far left-wing. I'm pretty left-middle on a lot of things, and there are times when I agree with Trump, and I don't see anything so terrible about making sure that everybody who comes into our country is going to be an okay person. Maybe they don't have family waiting for them and a job or a college degree waiting for them here. Maybe they're just escaping from a bad political situation. Maybe they're escaping from a bad just economic situation where they can't make a living in the city or town where they live. So they come here for opportunity. And we have always absorbed, when we could have easily absorbed, and in times when not so easily, we've been able to absorb people. The Statue of Liberty thing. Give us you're tired, you're sick, you're hungry, you're poor. And it works out, because most of them turn out to be really good people, and they do, as always, people always say they do the jobs that Americans don't want to do. They wash the dishes, they pick the fruit, they drive the cabs and the Ubers, they do what needs to be done to put food on the table, to send food back home to their families, and to make a stake here in America. And what we don't talk about as much is if they get to stay here and they don't get into trouble, they end up putting down roots here and having kids. And then those kids become first generation. And then they go to high school and college, right? And they start working in labs, and they start teaching, and they start creating sculptures and music and art, and they start inventing things, right? And clothing lines and stuff. So maybe their parents came through in the wrong way, but they came here okay, anchor babies as they used to be called, and they contribute to us. So I see both sides. I really see both sides of this issue. And I'm all for a strong border. Does it have to be a $5 billion wall when we're $1 trillion in debt? I don't think so. What I'm saying is, what about $1 billion to start the wall for however many dozen miles that $1 billion will take it? Okay, they put up the slats, and what they do is in that portion of Mexico and Texas or Arizona, I'm not sure. I'm not good with geography, folks. Mexico and Maine, right? In that portion, you put up the slats and you see how it works. Because obviously, if you've got the slats up and they can't climb over, they're going to have to go elsewhere, right? So at least in that portion, in those many, many miles, we'll see. Do we not need border agents there or security or guards, because nobody can cross over there? And then they all have to go to this other, it will require fewer border security, border guards, because they'll have to go through a certain other place. It's another deal supposedly that was struck with Mexico a week ago, that there'll be a holding place in Mexico where they're going to be able to leave, but we just keep them there for a bit to make sure that they don't have any diseases, to make sure that they're not part of MS-13 or gangs or smuggling, that they are okay people. And then one by one, hopefully as fast as possible and in as humane and healthy a way as possible without separating families, we can bring them in. And Mexico will let them come to us. This is not like North Korea, where you have to, the problem is, or Nazi Germany, where the problem is getting out rather than getting in. This is, Mexico will probably say, hey, don't want to live here with us anymore? Fine, go across America. They'll let you in. And make that deal. They'll say, okay, Mexico, put up miles of stuff where they can stay and give them provisions that they need to live decently for a couple of weeks. And then we'll process them. And the ones we don't want, sorry, they're Mexican, they have to go back. But the dozens and dozens and hundreds, maybe thousands that we do want, okay, we'll take them in, we'll process them, and we'll give them social security cards, and we'll put them on the way, possibly, eventually, to citizenship or at least visas. So it's just ridiculous what we have come to in this. And especially since, the Senate passed one bill that involved, that didn't even have all the money for the wall. They passed the bill, but then Trump went back to his right-wingers and said, no, it's got to have the money for the wall. Congress passed one. It's just, as usual, a mess. And, of course, Donald's standing, his status, has been weakened this past week because for a couple of reasons. What could have been a good week for him? First of all, he's been riding the economy in the 2 years that he's been president and saying, hey, look, sure, yeah. I mean, the economy was going like this under Obama, way too slow of a growth curve. And then when I came in, boom, and it's been true for almost 2 years. But now things got rocky. You had the trade war, and suddenly we're in almost bear territory in the Dow Jones, bear territory, I think, in NASDAQ or the S&P. And it's a little worrisome. Wasn't so worrisome. Okay, we got volatile. It was to be expected. We started fighting with China over trade deals. And on some level, again, Trump had some good ideas here. He's saying the economy is really, really strong. This is the time to take a stand about trade with Mexico and Canada and China. You can't do it when you're in desperate straits. You couldn't do it after the Bush recession. Now, we've had very strong growth for a long time. If there's a time to rock the economy a little bit to make things better in the long run, this is it. This is the time to take China on and say, okay, let's deal here and give America a better deal. Problem is, something comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. He says, we're making a deal. China's on board. We're going to do this, and it'll be more fair for both of us, and I'm so great. And then it turns out that he had a meeting, and the meeting went okay, and nothing was actually done or came out of it. And suddenly it's like, well, maybe in 90 days we won't have anything. And the market goes, woo. And then the Fed is raising interest rates because they've kept them artificially low for years. Trump is angry at the Fed for raising the rates 0.25%. He said, well, you didn't do that during the Obama years. And the Fed can easily go back and say, yeah, because during the Obama years, we were crawling out of the Republican disaster that was George W. Bush. And we would have sent ourselves right back into a recession at that moment if we had tried to raise rates. So we kept them for 8 years, artificially low. And for the first 2 years of your admin, we kept them ridiculously low. And you keep saying, look at the economy, look at unemployment, we're on rocket fuel. So the Fed hears this and goes, okay, I guess it's time to start raising interest rates to a level that is reasonable. And of course, that throws the stock market into tumult. Now understand the market the way it's been. We could see a turnaround in a week. We've lost about 3,500 points over the past couple of weeks. Amazingly enough, that has only brought us back to the level where we were of October of 2017. So for all the points, the hundreds and hundreds of points that have been attritioned over the past couple of weeks, it's really been brought us back only a little over a year ago. That's how fast the economy, the stock market has been growing. So it's very possible we could gain back 1,000, 1,500 points next week like that. Or we could see some further stuff, which if it gets under 20,000, I would start to go, oh crap, there's my 401k. There's our TIA CREF. For now, we'll see. We'll see. But it's been, as we said, an interesting week for Trump. And suddenly he's hammered on all sides of the equation. Suddenly the GOP is after him, A, because he looked like he was wavering on the wall, and B, because hawkish GOP people, he just lost Magus, right? Sorry, Magus. In fact, let's play that. I kind of gave away that last one, so let's hear from Annie Get Your Gun, a song with Ray Middleton, a classic Irving Berlin tune. Why would I be playing this week? A great song there from Annie Get Your Gun, the classic Broadway show. That was the 1946 Broadway cast featuring Ray Middleton. My defenses are down. And if you listen to both the left and the right, our defenses are now down because Jim Mattis has resigned as defense secretary over sparring with Donald Trump over all the months that he's been there, but especially this past week. And again, the madness of politics as we currently know it. Because think about it. You've got Donald Trump saying something that if Barack Obama had said it, we'd all be like, oh, great, yeah, let's get the fuck out of Syria. Why do we have people there? Syria is a cluster. Bashar al-Assad is a bad guy, right? We bombed him twice for gassing his own people. The Kurds there are in trouble. It's a mess. It's Al-Qaeda. And all we're going to have is, we don't have enough soldiers there to make a huge difference. And we don't want to have an influx. We don't have a Vietnam there sending thousands more. So let's get them out of Syria. And for gosh sakes, Trump also said the supposedly shocking thing of, let's at least bring half our kids home from Afghanistan, because it's been 17 years, right? 17 years of a dozen or 24 soldiers every year getting killed in sniper fire and roadside bombs. And what are we doing there? What help has it been? And believe me, when W sent soldiers into Afghanistan after 9/11, I'm totally for it, because that seemed like the right place for them to be. Iraq, of course, not. But Afghanistan, in terms of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, yeah. After 9/11, let's just bomb the shit. I mean, there's nothing to bomb over there. It's all sand and rocks and dunes. But just bomb it, and keep bombing it. And then, but we've had to have boots on the ground for the past 17 years. And Donald Trump looks at this and goes, enough. We're not going to change the government there. We're not going to destroy Al-Qaeda or the Taliban completely. We'll keep an eye on them and bring our boys home. And everybody said, where does this come from? How does Donald Trump, who has been listening to more than anybody else his beloved generals, he's so enamored by the military because he was in military school for 5 years, oh yes, gotta be hawkish, gotta give That's why we have $1 trillion deficit. Got to give the military so much money that it needs and make sure the soldiers are cared for and so forth. Okay. And then suddenly, like, out of nowhere, saying, let's bring the boys home and girls from these two countries. And the Republicans look at that and go, what? You know, the whole point is we haven't had a terrorist attack for real, an Arab, Muslim, crazy terrorist attack in America anywhere near on the scale or anything like that we've had since 9/11. And that's because of vigilance and maybe because we've had boots on the ground in these miserable Middle Eastern countries. And weirdly enough, the Democrats are attacking him too, because the Democrats are always going to attack everything he says and does. Whereas, you know, as probably a left-wing person who lived through the Vietnam era or the Korea era or the Iraq war would say, oh, yeah, let's get the hell out of Afghanistan. What are we accomplishing except throwing more millions of dollars and throwing the occasional soldier's life in the path of roadside bombs? My cure, whether it's for Syria or Afghanistan or any of these places where our people are that isn't a direct flashpoint war, is, they got a problem over there. They got people we don't like. They got people who are threatening the Western way of life quite directly. We just spent tons of money on the military and Grumman and places like that. Bomb, bomb, bomb. You know, just like we did the factories in Syria. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Give them a Christmas present, thousands of bombs, bring our boys home. And then they spend the next year rebuilding their little huts and their dunes and their tunnel passageways and their factories that make weapons and so forth, and their training grounds for suicide bombers and Muslim terrorists. And then we come back. You know, we have satellites in the sky. We have drones. We're in a situation in the world where they had to shut down Gatwick Airport for a day because of all the fucking drones going around. We can send drones all over Afghanistan and say, oh, look, there's a tunnel over there where bad people are. Oh, look, there's poison gas that's going to be, and we can take that drone and attach a little bomb to it and go, right? Instead of having American soldiers clomping around, looking over their shoulders, coming home if they live, either with limbs missing or PTSD for the rest of their lives, just in this day and age, the way warfare is, where it's all war games, is it not so impossible to send a plane that has an invisibility cloak shield thing, send it in, bomb what we need to, it doesn't even need a pilot, send it on out, and actually do get our boys out of Trashghanistan. Actually do take them out of Syria until we really, really need them there and can use them there properly. So, you know, Donald Trump says this, but everybody attacks him because the right wing is all about, and rightfully so, all about safety and protecting, and oh my God, everybody's trying to kill us all the time. And then the left wing just sees an opportunity to stick knives in him no matter what they do, even though a pacifist left winger would say, bring our boys home under any other circumstance. So Jim Mattis, who has been battling with Donald Trump on all things defense, just says, I've had enough of this, and he's leaving. He is quitting the administration. So many people have just been upping ship in the past week. It has been a rough time for the Donald. I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders can say otherwise. Donald can say otherwise, and he can do other things quietly on other fronts. But when it comes to the economy this week, the wall this week, the budget this week, the internal strife, and people jumping ship this week, he may say he's not going to Mar-a-Lago until this thing is resolved. But my guess is Christmas to New Year's, no matter what, he will go to Mar-a-Lago and play some damn golf. And why not? Anyway, why not end this program, this Dave's Gone By episode, our 678th episode of the program, on this Saturday, December 22nd, 2018. It's 12:15 already. We've gone a little bit overtime. If you've missed any, all, or part of this program and you want to share it with folks, remember that you can go to davesgoneby.com at any time for free to see pictures of the show, the history of the program, plus all our archives from the very first episode all the way to the one we did last week, all the way to this one starting tomorrow when we post it on the website, davesgoneby.com. You can download them or just stream them on your computer if you're worried about downloads, but you can get it as an MP3 as well. You can see we've been saving the videos for the past bunch of months. So you can watch the old shows if you don't want to just listen to them in audio. It's all there at the website. And also a reminder, there's a link there to if you want to see what I've done beyond radio. You want to read my plays? You want to read a lot of the theater reviews that I've written over the years, or the articles that I've written, the interviews that I've done with famous people, some of the comedy bits that I've written, they're all collected. Oh, and the songs I've written, they're all collected at another website. There's a link on it at davesgoneby.com. There's a WordPress site with hours and hours of interesting reading that we've just been adding to as I've gone through my archives over the past few weeks. So do check that out, all at davesgoneby.com. Well, I want to thank some folks. I want to thank my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, for spending the first part of the show with me and for playing the marvelous Coop game with me. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Where did he go? I want to thank Poops. We haven't named him yet. Dooley-Doo, we might call him Mr. Feeseeks. That's my favorite for him. Mr. Feeseeks, he's going to go back in his little hutch until we play him next time. Good night, Mr. Feeseeks. But thank you, Joyce, for joining me for the first part of the show. Thank you also, of course, to Joseph Rotenberg for joining us in the Daverhood. Where's my page? There it is. Remember to get his book, Timeless Travels, anywhere you can get books. It's Geffen Press, not like David Geffen, it's Geffen. Notice Jewish sort of a press because it's got the wine grapes, which is what a Geffen is. Geffen Press, Timeless Travels, Tales of Mystery, Intrigue, Humor, and Enchantment by Joseph Rotenberg. And thank you also, by the way, to Scott Lorenz for setting up that interview with Mr. Rotenberg. Thank you also to Rabbi Saul Solomon for doing that interview, the one, the only Jewish Rabbi Saul. Find out more about him at his website, shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com. This is the place to read his work, because he's written dozens of little mini sermons. He's also done a one-man show off Broadway that you can watch called Shalom Dammit, an evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon, that was videotaped, and it's quite wonderful. ShalomDammit.com is the place to watch it for Rabbi Saul Solomon. Well, is there anything else to, no. I think we're good. It remains for me to wish you all most happy holidays, to wish our Christian followers and visitors a most Merry Christmas, and our Jewish followers a post-Hanukkah happiness. Happy Kwanzaa, although I think that's in January. What else? Are there any others? Oh, Festivus for the rest of us. Not sure when that's happening. And in terms of when Dave's Gone By is happening, I haven't decided yet whether we'll just do a regular show next Saturday morning, as we always do, or if we're going to table that and maybe do our annual New Year's show. Not really feeling the New Year's show this year. Not sure, there's just so much going on, good and bad, that I don't necessarily want to deal with putting together a show on New Year's Eve, as we have done over many, many years now. Maybe. Best way to find out what we're doing is to check this Facebook page, Radio Dave Lefkowitz, and to check the homepage, davesgoneby.com. We'll let you know by the middle of the week whether we'll be here on Saturday or whether we're going to table it until next, I guess, Tuesday night. But either way, it's always great to be with you in the Daverhood. Email me, davesgoneby@aol.com. Check my Twitter feed, Radio Dave Lefkowitz. And thank you. Thank you all so much for your messages, for your hearts and your thumbs up, and sometimes your poop emojis as well. And let's go out with another song from Galt McDermott. The late Galt McDermott did, he did Hair and The Two Gentlemen of Verona, those two musicals on Broadway. So, yeah, we played a little bit of Let the Sun Shine In before. We were expecting some snow today. So why not play once again a bit more of Hair, the American Tribal Love Rock musical. This is from the 2009 Broadway revival of the show, Let the Sun Shine In and Gone By. Wishing you a most happy New Year, although I'll probably see you before, and most happy holidays from the Daverhood. Time to flush this one down and Gone By.